Chapter 224. Our side will also go, have the army attack. Venerable Exion ordered. Upon hearing this, a demon saint unfurled the flag in his hand and shouted, "Charge!" All the demons in the demon camp roared in unison. They turned into a cloud of dust and charged towards the human camp. At the same time, in the human camp, the spirit beast bags on the waist of countless cultivators suddenly exploded. The spirit beasts jumped out from the bags and madly attacked their masters. The entire human camp was in chaos. Many cultivators were rolling on the ground, getting killed by their own spirit beast. A few of the more powerful spirit beasts saw an opening and jumped towards the defensive plates, destroying them in just a few hits. They didn't stop, only choosing to destroy the defensive plates, trying to make all of humanity's defenses lose their effectiveness before the demon army arrives. On the human camp, countless lights suddenly lit up, then quickly turned into sparks of light and disappeared into the void of space. This was the scene of defensive formations collapsing one after another. And at this point, in just a few breaths' worth of time, the demons will charge in and start a fierce and brutal massacre. Without the large-scale defensive formations, the demons that outnumber the humans by several times will quickly scatter the human cultivators and devour them. The cooperation between the demon and the spirit beast was perfect, it was marvelous. There's no longer any suspense in this war. Venerable Exion shouted in high spirits, "Children, let's go, eat these humans, this world belongs to us, the beasts." The demons roared as they charged into the human camp. A one-sided slaughter had begun. Humanity's fate has already been decided. The demons have finally taken over this world. Venerable Exion clasped his hands behind his back and ordered, "The rest of you go kill as well, lest too many of our descendants lose their lives." "Yes," the rest of the beast saints all replied. They turned into blurred images and quickly charged towards the human camp. Venerable Exion nodded in satisfaction. "This is the proudest day of my life. Once the demon lord returns, I'll definitely be greatly rewarded. Maybe the next time he invades another world, the demon lord will bring me along. I heard that conquering an entire world will bring great benefit." When the time came, he would have to pay attention and figure out this secret. Just as he was thinking, he noticed that there seemed to be a small problem in front of him. Venerable Exion suddenly looked up. No, it doesn't seem to be a small problem. Following the collapse of the large-scale defensive formation, tens of thousands of demons charged into the human camp. But at the same time, something strange happened. A beam of cold spiritual light shone from the human camp. The spiritual light was like a sharp blade, instantly splitting into two into 4, and finally into 49 frost blades, all of which revolved around the human camp in a frenzy. For a time, flesh and blood of humans and demons flew everywhere, and cries shook the heavens. The entire human camp was dyed in a layer of white frost. The icy spiritual chi disappeared, followed closely by a fiery red spiritual light that quickly enveloped the entire human camp. The fiery spiritual light was like a flowing lava waterfall, enveloping all the demons and spirit beasts in the human camp, even the tens of thousands of human cultivators. Another ray of golden light transformed into the image of a sword and saber, and it moved about freely within the human camp. Everywhere it passed, blood rained down, and no one could stop it. Suddenly, a thunderstorm erupted, all the stars in the sky fell, millions of living beings couldn't stop it, in just a few breaths' time, they all died. Then, dust and sand flew everywhere, like a tidal wave, thousands of bodies of flesh and blood crashed into the sharp spikes on the ground, quickly drowning the sand underground. Venerable Exion's heart froze as he saw this. This was a large-scale offensive formation of the human race. But what made Venerable Exion and the Beast Saints in disbelief was that these large-scale offensive formations didn't attack outside of the human camp like they usually did. These formations were all aimed inside the human camp. The war attack spirit formations were activated one after another, and the humans and demons within the spirit formations were slaughtered by the powerful spirit formations. There was no pause for even a moment. Humanity's offensive formations were aimed at themselves and not at their enemies, something that had never happened before. It was as if from the very beginning, humanity had already prepared to die together with them. A few fiendish demons managed to escape from the human camp, but most of them perished together with the human cultivators in the layers of large-scale offensive spirit formations. The three saints were already gone, the demons had the upper hand, the spirit beasts were rebelling, but the human cultivators didn't even care about their own lives and used this method of mutual destruction. Both the demons and spirit beasts suffered heavy casualties. Many Tianma enchantresses appeared from the corpses of the spirit beasts, their expressions as cold as ice as they flew towards the demon palace temple on the other side of Demon Cloud's river. The human race sure is brave, Venerable Exion sighed, having no choice but to accept the fact that it was a Pyrrhic victory. Although humanity had tens of thousands of elite cultivators participating in the battle, the sects still have many cultivators left to defend. Humanity's sects all have their own defensive formations, so it'll be hard to deal with them in the future. Now that so many of his subordinates have died, when the time comes to attack the sects, he might even have to do it himself. Breaking through the defensive formations that have been passed down for tens of thousands of years, even he would be exhausted. But there's no other way. Let's win this battle first, then think about what comes next. Following Venerable Exion's sigh, all sorts of dazzling large-scale offensive formations slowly stopped. Everything was over. Suddenly, Venerable Exion opened his eyes wide. On the human camp, there were thousands of corpses of demons and spirit beasts. But all of the human cultivators were gone. There were no signs of concealment formations activating, no signs of escaping, no desperate screams of self-destruction. Not a single human cultivator's corpse was left behind, they just disappeared without a trace. This was a true disappearance, without a single trace, not even a strand of hair to be found. What's going on? Where are they? Hurry and find them! Venerable Exion instinctively shouted. He quickly rushed forward, together with the other beast saints, they began to search in a frenzy. The demons that were still alive were all stunned, looking at each other, not knowing what to do. The spirit beasts that were lucky enough to survive all fell to the ground, no longer breathing. The Tianma enchantresses' figures all gave up their spirit beast bodies and flew to the sky. They seemed to have noticed something, so they didn't even bother to look at the beast saints, only flying towards the demon palace temple. While flying, the Tianma enchantresses were chanting, Luo Jia Jia Luo Luo Mo Luo Jia Duo Sha. Above the demon palace temple, countless rays of light began to shine, manifesting into an illusory grand palace that welcomed the Tianma enchantresses inside. On the human camp, a faint spirit fog began to spread, then was slowly blown away by the wind. This spirit fog, a demonic beast saint murmured thoughtfully. Venerable Exen grabbed the beast saint and shouted in a frenzy, "What's wrong with this spirit fog? Tell me, or I'll kill you." The beast saint was shocked, quickly replied, "This spirit fog seems to be the excess spirit energy left behind after the spell was dispelled." Venerable Exion let go of him and shook his head. "No, that's impossible. Spell. How laughable. What kind of spell could instantly make tens of thousands of cultivators disappear? In this world, there's no way humanity could have such a spell. Even if the three saints were here, they wouldn't be able to do it." Venerable Exion stopped for a bit, forcing himself to calm down and carefully think. The Monk of Sorrow is a Buddhist cultivator. Although Buddhist spells are good against Tianma, they can't hide their tracks to such an extent. Xianyuan Tianzuan is an expert in talismans and 5 elemental spells, but even talismans can't have such unbelievable power. Not to mention, Xianyuan Tianzuan hasn't used such a miraculous spell in the past few hundred years. Not to mention by Hua Fairy, other than her powerful martial thaumaturgy and countless killing spells, she only knows She only knows. Venerable Exian was stunned for a split second, then his body shook and coughed up blood. Xie Dao Ling. Chapter 225. Above the thick dark clouds. A woman wearing a bright green feathered dress silently stood there. The wind blowing on her body was like a gentle breeze brushing against a willow, causing her clothes to flutter in the wind, making her look like a dream. Her face was shrouded in a thin veil, concealing her devastatingly beautiful face. Only a pair of limpid eyes were exposed, and from time to time they would turn intelligently, as if she was thinking about something. Suddenly, as if she sensed something, the corner of her lips curled up, then slowly widened. Who would have thought, aside from swordsmanship, you'd also know how to use tricks? With a smile on her face, she tilted her head and muttered. From the look on her face, she still couldn't believe what she was seeing. The myriad incarnation thaumaturgy had always been a hobby of hers for fun. Who would have thought, under her disciple's suggestion, she'd use it for a major event? A major event that could decide the survival of humanity. 100 Flowers Fairy sensed the situation below. Noticing that it's about time, she lightly waved her sleeve. In a flash, a red-faced Taoist and an old monk appeared. How is it? Is my disciple's strategy good? 100 Flowers Fairy raised her chin and proudly asked. The great monk of sorrow heaved a long sigh and said, lured 6 demon saints out of this realm, ambushed and killed tens of thousands of spiritual beasts, and even hundreds of thousands of demons, and we didn't lose a single soldier. This battle is truly the first I've seen in my life. Such strategy, perhaps he'll be able to become a general, Xianyuan Tianzuan also praised. Then, what about my disciple? Xie Dao Ling looked at Xianyuan Tianzuan provocatively. Xianyuan Tianzuan froze, then begrudgingly said, we'll talk about it after the battle is over. Xie Dao Ling smiled and said nothing else. The 3 saints released their inner sight to scan the area below. Let us begin, the great monk of sorrow said. It's our turn, Xianyuan Tianzuan nodded. Xie Dao Ling also nodded. She looked at a certain high ground and thought for a bit. That high ground was much higher than the surrounding terrain, easy to defend and hard to attack, a position that the 3 of them had already chosen. She waved her long sleeves again. Divine skill, a sleeve universe. Large groups of cultivators appeared on the high ground. They had long been prepared. As soon as their feet touched the ground, they began to quickly set up arrays, distribute talismans, elixirs, and form a battle formation. They were extremely busy. Ding Yuan General Gongsun Ji and Ding Yuan General Ming Hui Monk were directing the cultivators to set up various formations. But there was no sign of the other Ding Yuan General, Wu Xingwen. In the next few dozen breaths, a series of large-scale defensive formations were successfully set up, and a vast expanse of spiritual light soared into the sky. Dozens of even more dazzling lights flickered incessantly, and dozens of large-scale offensive spell formations were activated one after another. This time, the attack formation was facing outward. The entire allied human army quickly got ready for battle. A demon saint rushed forward to test the waters, and immediately triggered dozens of powerful spell formations to attack. The multicolored beams of light bombarded its body, causing it to roar incessantly. However, with it disrupting the human army's formation, the few remaining demons were able to slowly retreat without being killed by the spell formations. The demon saint was in so much pain that it couldn't get close to the large-scale offensive spell formations, so in a fit of rage, it was about to unleash its full power. As it looked up, it saw the 3 saints of humanity slowly flying towards it. The demon saint was scared, but didn't want to attack anymore. It twisted its body and desperately flew back to the demon army. The 3 saints didn't chase after it. They exchanged glances and landed in front of the human army. TSK, what a gamble! Fellow Dao Seeker Exian with your brain, you must have thought about this for over 1,000 years, Xie Dao Ling lightly smiled and said. Venerable Exian's nose and mouth were bleeding, staring at the 3 saints. He opened his mouth a few times but couldn't say anything. Even after spending all of his effort and sacrificing 6 demon saints, he still couldn't achieve anything. At this point, Venerable Xian wanted nothing more than to kill the 3 of them. Which one of you noticed? Finally, he asked, unwilling to give up. This saint's disciple, Xie Daoling, proudly replied, then continued. How does it feel to lose? How about you just give up, at least you can keep your life. Amitabha, now that 6 of you have already lost, the rest of you won't be able to suppress us anymore. The great monk of sorrow smiled and said. Xianyuan Tianzuan couldn't be bothered to say anything else. He tapped his inventory bag and took out a divine talisman. At this point, 80 to 90% of the 100,000 demons are dead, the spirit beasts are all dead, and only half of the beast saints are left. Whether it's a battle on the battlefield or a duel between the 2 sides, humanity's victory is almost guaranteed. In such a situation, if the other side still doesn't know what's good for them, then I'll just have to go all out. Venerable Xian sighed and was about to say something. Suddenly, a hand appeared in front of his chest. A slender, fair, and nimble hand pierced through his chest. In this hand there was a beating heart. Ah! Venerable Xian opened his eyes wide, coughing up more blood. Everyone was shocked by this scene. Everything happened so suddenly that the beast saints and the 3 saints of humanity couldn't even react in time. Formless Tianma Saint King, why? Venerable Xian gritted his teeth and turned around to ask. Behind him, a woman wearing a thin royal dress coldly spoke. Because you wasted a great chance and even destroyed the demon lord's preparations for the past 10 years. As soon as she said so, she clenched her hand and crushed the heart. An idiot like you doesn't deserve to lead the demons in battle, and you definitely don't deserve to follow the demon lord. The woman retracted her hand and lightly touched Venerable Xian's head. I tried my best. Venerable Xian's eyes were filled with anger. The punishment for failure is to steal your soul and become a blood slave for all eternity, never to return, the woman said. Her hand lightly tapped Venerable Xian's forehead. With a pop, Venerable Xian's head exploded, red, white, blue and green flew everywhere, followed by a mist of blood. The headless body fell down, heavily hitting the ground, no longer moving. A sainted realm beast king was easily killed on the spot. After doing all that, the woman looked at her body. Her body was slowly becoming illusory. Formless Tianma Saint King waved her hand behind her. On the other side of Demon Cloud's river, inside the Demon Palace Temple, the Tianma enchantresses' chanting became louder and louder. At once, it sounded like billions of female voices were chanting at the same time. Luo Jaja Luo Luo Shi, Lu Hali, Maha Luo Hali, Aluo, Jaluo, Duo Luo, Swaha. Following the chanting, the formless Tianma Saint King's body became solid again. She then chuckled. How disappointing, my preparations were ruined by an idiot, even my time in this world was greatly shortened. The 3 saints looked at her with strange expressions on their faces. They silently stared at the formless Tianma Saint King in front of them, as if they were looking at a living miracle. Did you notice? Xianyuan Tianzuan shouted. Indeed, your spirit energy wave is stronger than mine, although not by much. It definitely doesn't belong to the sainted realm. Xie Dao Ling evaluated the formless Tianma Saint King from top to bottom and muttered. Chapter 226. Formless Heavenly Demon Holy King crossed her hands and began to cast a spell. A large amount of invisible ripples suddenly appeared in the sky, like a boulder falling into the water. Just as the Tianma was about to cast the spell, Xianyuan Tianzuan tapped his inventory bag, took out a palm-sized copper-colored tortoise shell, and threw a handful of coins on it. The first of the 6 arts, divination. The formless Tianma Saint King is a monster that the 3 saints have never seen before, and its realm is higher than the 3 saints. That's why Xianyuan Tianzuan couldn't help but use divination to try and pry into heaven's secrets. The price of peeking into the heavenly secrets was very heavy, but it was nothing compared to dying. The copper coins collided with the tortoise shell and fell to the ground. There is fire above the heavens, the wind and fire fan the furnace, only when there is fire and there is no wind. She is summoning something, and once that thing enters her hand, you and I will die. He frowned as he stared at the turtle shell and quickly said. The 100 Flowers Fairy reached out her hand, quickly calculated with her fingers. 2 breaths later, she and Xianyuan Tianzuan spoke at the same time. It's that vase. As soon as they finished speaking, the formless heavenly devil Holy King's spell was completed. In the next moment, rays of dim yellow light broke through the void, and a gray clay pot flew out. This was the demonic artifact Venerable Xian used before. The mysterious vase that had released an incredible amount of power floated silently above the demonic clouds river. The place where it had appeared was where it had flown into the void with the 3 saints and the 6 beast saint. We definitely can't let it get that demonic artifact, otherwise it'll be like a tiger with wings. You and I will both die, Xianyuan Tianzuan said solemnly. The 3 saints looked up at the sky. The smile on formless sky demon Holy King's face disappeared as she glared at the 3 saints. Divination? As expected, the human race should have been wiped out a long time ago. As she spoke, her figure moved and she flew toward the clay jar floating above the Demon Clouds River. She was already on the bank of the Demon Clouds River, very close to the clay pot, while the 3rd saint was several hundred feet away from the Demon Clouds River in front of the human race's camp, so it was too late to stop them. Xianyuan Tianzuan suddenly shouted, "I can't make it!" "I'll do it!" Xie Dao Ling raised her voice. She suddenly disappeared, and when she reappeared, her fist had already landed on formless heavenly demon Holy King's face. Martial Wei returns to hiding, heaven collapses. With a single punch, a torrential flood of martial treasury power erupted. Even the sky could be punched through. This wasn't the fake attack that the Incarnation used to attack Blade Emperor, this was the true full-power attack of the 100 Flowers Fairy. The formless heavenly demon Holy King was hit squarely by this punch. Its body turned into a black shadow and flew away, crossing the dried-up Demon Clouds River and crashing into the Black Temple. Boom! There was a violent noise and half of the temple collapsed. Xie Dao Ling hovered in the air and scoffed. He's only 1 realm higher, it's hard to say who would win in a real battle. She flew to where the vase was, waved her hand, and the vase flew towards the human camp, landing in Xianyuan Tianzuan's hand. Xianyuan Tianzuan sighed in relief, flipped his hand and put the jar into his inventory bag. The 3 sages looked towards the Demon Palace Pagoda Temple, but the formless heavenly devil Holy King did not appear again. After a while, something seemed to be moving in the temple. What are they doing? Too scared to come out? Xie Dao Ling squinted her eyes. Then a loud chanting came from the temple. Bo Bei Yi, Bo Bei Mian, Bo Sun Yu, Bo Sun Yi, the sound of the incantation echoed in all directions. In the face of this incantation, all sounds disappeared without a trace. The cultivators tried to speak, shouted, clapped their hands, but none of them made a sound. Heaven and earth had lost all sound. Xie Dao Ling's expression was solemn, her hands quickly forming hand seals. Ever since she became a cultivator, she had never seen such an incantation, nor such a scene. Xianyuan Tianzuan once again took out a handful of copper coins and threw them on the tortoise shell. The coins clattered as they landed on the shell, rolled a few times, then fell off. Extreme calamity, he sent his voice to the other 2 saints. If we don't deal with it quickly, we'll be able to survive, but this world will face a great calamity. Hearing that, the 100 Flowers Fairy scowled. She's never been afraid of Tianma, but a monster like the formless heavenly devil Holy King was a first for her, not to mention that she's never dealt with a Tianma incantation before. If that's the case, then there's only. A bright green glow suddenly appeared around her body. After that, her hands changed the hand seals and quickly formed the first hand seal. This divine skill required a few dozen hand seals, so it would take a bit of time to complete. She then said, By me some time, seeing this technique, Xianyuan Tianzuan felt his hairs standing on end. His lips moved a bit, but didn't say anything, only silently stood in front of Xie Dao Ling, benefactor Xie. This technique of yours takes too much of your lifespan, please stop. The great monk of sorrow suddenly sighed and sent his voice. Why is that? The 100 Flowers Fairy was surprised. The great monk of sorrow sent his voice. According to our Buddhist sect's ancient records, what they're using is a type of Tianma divine skill. Tianma don't know how to fight, but they have a way to summon countless other Tianma to this place. Tianma have always been fond of eating human souls. Even if they can't kill us on the spot, they'll still lurk around, waiting for a chance to kill cultivators one by one. In a world, the more Tianma there are, the less people there will be. They'll become more and more stupid until they're no different from animals. If this goes on, the world will be destroyed. Hearing that, both the 100 Flowers Fairy and Xianyuan Tianzuan understood the severity of the situation. The heretic Tianma is the mortal enemy of our Buddhist sect. Only the benevolence of Buddha can subdue them. According to fate, I should be the one to fight this battle. Saying so, the great monk of sorrow slowly walked across Demon Cloud's river, heading towards the Demon Palace Temple. Monk, Xie Dao Ling muttered. Xianyuan Tianzuan spoke. Buddhist sect is indeed an expert in dealing with demons. How about we help him hold the line and fight when the situation arises? Xie Dao Ling slowly nodded and released her hand seal. Halfway through the great monk of sorrow's journey, countless beautiful enchantresses flew out from the temple, giggling as they flew towards him. Their clothes didn't even cover their bodies, their eyes were filled with emotions, their gestures were filled with emotion. Telesina, Luodina, Roga also the enchantresses were all chanting their incantations, making various seductive poses, dancing around the great monk of sorrow. Every single Tianma enchantress in the human world was a beauty that could sway a cultivator's Tao heart. 15 different kinds of light were released from their bodies, enveloping the great monk of sorrow. Various unsightly images appeared one by one. These images were like living fog, squeezing against each other, trying to pull the great monk of sorrow into them. Seeing that, the great monk of sorrow, who was originally kind and gentle, suddenly opened his eyes, speaking with a thunderous voice from his mouth. Ba, boluamo lin tuaning, sa pa ha. Ba chin shiyajabang, om, palamani, deza, papa suaha. This was the Dharni of the Buddhist sect, specialized in dealing with Tianma. As soon as the Dharni appeared, it was like a giant hammer striking the void of space, causing the invisible barrier to shatter. Heaven and earth trembled, the thick black clouds were swept away by the wind, the sun, moon, and stars appeared in the deep blue sky. Chapter 227. Inside the Black Pagoda, the formless Tianma Saint King seemed to have noticed something was wrong, so she chanted another incantation. Polaway mo pashi ti, bo bai bo bai sun bo bai mo bo sun. After this chant, all the Tianma enchantresses seemed to have gained power as they once again hovered in the air. The Tianma enchantresses filled the sky, as countless illusory flowers surrounded them, making them look like fairies descending from the heavens. They circled around the great monk of sorrow, slowly forming a tornado that trapped the great monk of sorrow inside. While the great monk of sorrow stood alone in the void of space, his eyes lowered as he chanted Dalani to protect himself. All of a sudden, thousands of Tianma enchantresses chanted the same incantation. Trisana, Luodina, Ragayi, they all chanted loudly, cutting off the great monk of sorrow's incantation. The human camp was too far away, so they couldn't hear too clearly, so the effect was limited. But the demons that were leaning against Demon Cloud's river all fell to the ground, screaming in pain as they heard the chant. As if they were being bitten by something, they rolled on the ground, tried to run, but couldn't escape no matter what. A few moments later, many of the demons lost their vitality. But looking at their appearances, they didn't seem to have any wounds. The Tianma enchantresses continued to chant. Bo Bai Yi, Bo Bai Yu, Bo Sun Yi, Trisana, Raga Yi. Wisps of black smoke rose from their bodies and gathered into a ball in midair. This mass of black smoke seems to be their essence. As soon as the black smoke left their bodies, the Tianma enchantresses became a lot weaker. The black smoke rolled a bit in the air, forming into a Tianma lord about a few dozen feet tall. This demon lord had 3 heads, each with a different expression. One was sorrowful, one was angry, and the last one was in pain. The demon lord had 6 hands, each holding a strange-looking weapon. These weapons were constantly changing. Sometimes they were swords, sometimes they were axes, sometimes they were spears, sometimes they were spears. The demon lord held countless weapons. Looking at the great monk of sorrow, its body moved and quickly approached him. Amitba, the demonic flames fill the sky, what can I do? The great monk of sorrow shook his head. He lowered his eyes and suddenly put his palms together and said, I hope that when I attain Bodhi in my next life, my own light will shine brightly on the countless worlds. With the 32 great men as my form, I will dignify my body and let all sentient beings be no different from me. Before he finished, the great monk of sorrow's entire body turned golden. Endless Buddhist chants echoed in the void. Xianyuan Tianzuan sighed and said, The old monk is going to use his real power now. Xie Daoling also nodded. The demon god with 3 heads and 6 arms crossed the river and swung his weapon at the sorrowful head. Clang! The demon god was actually pushed back a step by the rebounding force. Looking at the monk of sorrow, his entire body was golden as if it was solid. There was not a single wound on his body. The demon lord roared angrily and kept slashing at the great monk of sorrow with his weapon. Sparks flew everywhere, but the great monk of sorrow wasn't hurt at all. Unbreakable diamond, Xie Daoling praised. The great monk of sorrow closed his eyes and began to slowly circle around the 3-headed, 6-armed demon lord. The great monk of sorrow seemed to be walking slowly, but he was actually moving very quickly. In the blink of an eye, he had already circled around the demon lord once. Wherever he walked, golden lotuses appeared from the void of space, forming a circle. After circling around once, the great monk of sorrow took a step back. Bean-sized beads of sweat were dripping down from his head. He appeared exhausted, his body was also a bit shaky. He stretched out his hand, made a hand seal, and shouted, Buzz! Ho! Above the golden lotuses, a bright golden light began to shine. The demon lord roared and was about to move again, but hit the void of space and couldn't help but retreat. It tried to move forward again, hit the void of space again, and was forced to take a few steps back. The demon lord turned around and tried to run in another direction. It was still hit the void of space, unable to move forward. It tried to run in every direction, but no matter how much it tried, it couldn't get past the circle of golden lotuses on the ground. Drawing a prison on the ground, Xianyuan Tianzuan praised. The great monk of sorrow formed another hand seal and chanted, Namo hi luo na duo luo yi nan wu ye ye pa ji di shua luo yi sua pa hi. The golden lotuses on the ground suddenly bloomed, giving off an endless golden light that pierced the sky. Roar! The demon lord roared in pain. Under the illumination of the golden light, its 3 heads were like snow under the sun, quickly melting and disappearing. After that, the demon lord's weapons, 6 arms, and body also disappeared. As soon as the 3-headed demon lord disappeared, the Tianma enchantresses in the sky all screamed in pain as black smoke came out from their bodies. In a split second, all the beautiful enchantresses lost their clothes and flesh, turning into a bunch of ferocious-looking skeletons. These skeletons swarmed down and ran back into the Black Temple. Let me help the monk. Xianyuan Tianzuan saw the problem, took out a yellow talisman and flicked it. The yellow talisman instantly burned. As the flames manifested, the divine beast vermilion bird flapped its wings and flew out from the flames. Come again. Xianyuan Tianzuan looked at the Black Temple and burned another yellow talisman. From the burning talisman, A divine beast Qilin, whose body was made of flames, slowly walked out from the void of space. Go! Xianyuan Tianzuan shouted. The vermilion bird and the Qilin circled in the air, then flew towards the Black Temple. How could I not help you when you're down? 100 Flowers Fairy smiled. She can also see that it's a crucial moment, but the great monk of sorrow is still standing still in the air. Obviously he's used up too much energy, unable to continue. The power of the Buddhist Daluo and I is immense, but the amount of energy it consumes isn't something a normal cultivator can handle. But right now they can't afford to relax, because this is the moment that will decide the outcome of this battle. 100 Flowers Fairy quickly formed a hand seal. In the sky, an illusory figure that blotted out the sun suddenly appeared. It was a 9-clawed great dragon, from the head to the tail, its body stretched for miles. 5 elemental metal, great dragon. Go! 100 Flowers Fairy said. The coiling dragon shook its whiskers and tail and flew toward the black pagoda on a cloud. In just a few moments, the 3 divine beasts arrived above the Black Temple, about to jump down. Bo Bei Yi, Bo Bei Yu, Bo Sun Yi. From inside the Black Temple, the Tianma's chanting could be heard. As soon as the chanting finished, hundreds and thousands of weapons appeared from the top of the Black Temple. Blades, swords, bows, crossbows, armors, spears, lances, hooks, golden hammers, axes, wheels, ropes, all of them were innumerable. Each and every one of them was giving off a vicious green glow. All of the weapons seemed to be sentient, attacking the 3 divine beasts on their own. But the vermilion bird, Qilin and great dragon seemed to be afraid of these weapons, dodging them while breathing fire at the Black Temple. Chapter 228. Seeing the battle between the 3 beast saints and the Black Pagoda Temple, the remaining beast saints suddenly reacted. Don't even think about it. They flew towards Demon Cloud's river, wanting to join the battle. Xianyuan Tianzuan looked at Xie Daoling. Xie Daoling swung her sleeve and put the monk of sorrow away. I'll kill them first, you deal with the demon, Xie Daoling said. Got it? Xianyuan Tianzuan nodded. Xie Daoling instantly disappeared and reappeared behind one of the beast saints. Her hands turned into blurred images, attacking the other party over 100 times in a single breath's worth of time. After a series of strikes, she finally turned her palms into fists and struck the other party's neck. Martial thaumaturgy, a sky collapse. With a loud crack, the beast saint's neck was bent at an eerie angle. Die! Xie Daoling spat out a single word, then struck the other party's back. The demonic saint was sent flying and turned into a rapidly falling black shadow. It suddenly crashed into the ground, causing an earth-shaking rumble. Inside a large crater, the beast saint laid silently at the bottom. It was now that the other beast saints came forward. Xie Daoling retreated, curled her pinky finger into her mouth and whistled. A colorful cloud quickly came from afar. The colorful cloud turned into the peacock beast saint and landed in front of Xie Daoling. Fairies summoning? Fight together with me, Xie Daoling casually said. Yes, the peacock beast saint replied. The beast saints on the other side stopped in their tracks with hesitation on their faces. Of the 13 beast saints, 6 were transported away, Venerable Xin was killed, and Xie Daoling just casually killed another one, so there were only 5 left. Their enemies were the 100 Flowers Fairy and Xie Daoling, not to mention a peacock beast saint. Their group really couldn't win. Who was Xie Daoling? She immediately noticed their hesitation. She took a step forward and looked at the remaining 5 sacred beasts with an indifferent expression. To live or to die, you decide for yourselves, she said. You really think the 5 of us are afraid of you? One of the beast saints mustered up his courage and gritted his teeth. Just now, Xie Daoling casually killed a beast saint. His heart was still trembling when he thought about it. What do you think? Another demon saint, who was more pragmatic, asked in a deep voice. The beast saints looked at each other. After communicating with their divine senses, the leader of the beast saints stepped forward and said, We can withdraw from the battle, but we have a condition. Don't get it wrong, Xie Daoling squinted her eyes and spoke calmly. I'm only giving you the choice to live or die. If you stop now, you can still live, other than that, there are no conditions. The beast saints fell silent. Hurry up and decide. My patience is limited. Xie Daoling scowled and spoke impatiently. The demon saints were either angry, flustered, or unwilling. In the end, all of them sighed. I'll stop. I'll stop too. I'm not fighting anymore, they said dejectedly. That's more like it. Go and take care of the demons below. If anyone dares to show even a hint of killing intent towards humanity, I'll hold you responsible. Saying so, Xie Daoling flew away with the peacock. The beast saints looked at each other and were speechless for a moment. After a while, one of the beast saints spoke up. Do we really have to listen to her? Another beast saint coldly laughed. Sorrow and Xianyuan are fine, but this is Xie Daoling we're talking about. It wasn't easy for me to reach Sainted Realm. I still want to live for a few hundred more years. Saying so, he flew down and shouted for the demons to retreat. The other beast saints pondered for a moment, then sighed and descended. It couldn't be helped if they really thought about it. If they didn't have the advantage in numbers, no one would dare to act rashly in front of Xie Daoling Fairy. If they've already submitted, why don't you let them attack the temple? Peacock Beast Saint asked. There's a limit to everything. If you go too far, it'll backfire, Xie Daoling replied. Peacock, the following battle is too dangerous. You shouldn't participate. Just help me look after those beast saints. Yes, Peacock wholeheartedly agreed. Xie Daoling nodded and flew next to Xianyuan Tianzuan again. She looked towards the Black Temple. Countless weapons emitting green light continuously emerged from the pagoda temple, blocking the attacks of the three divine beasts. You're done? Xianyuan Tianzuan asked in surprise. They chose to surrender, Xie Daoling answered. Xianyuan Tianzuan released his inner sight to see the beast saints were obediently standing in the middle of the demon horde, keeping them under control. Very well, this old Taoist hasn't done anything yet. I'll leave this temple to this old Taoist, Xianyuan Tianzuan said. He tapped his inventory bag and carefully took out a blank yellow talisman. Biting his finger, Xianyuan Tianzuan used his blood to draw mystical runes on the yellow talisman. When he was done, he grabbed the yellow talisman and began to fold it. His hands were very nimble, his movements smooth and practiced. In just a few breaths' worth of time, he had already folded the talisman into a mountain. Xianyuan Tianzuan flicked the yellow talisman into the air and threw it out. The mountain peak immediately flew away from his finger and silently floated above the Black Pagoda Temple. Change. Xianyuan Tianzuan chanted a hand seal. In a flash, the yellow talisman disappeared. What replaced it was a huge blue mountain that blocked out the sun. Taoism Divine Skill. Mountain Breaker. The huge mountain only stayed in the air for a few breaths' worth of time, then following Xianyuan Tianzuan's hand seal, it crashed down. Heaven and earth shook, the stars disappeared, the sun and moon lost their light. The demons and human cultivators all collapsed, unable to stand up for a long time. Under the intense impact, the entire Black Temple was buried at the bottom of the mountain. Xianyuan Tianzuan took out another blank yellow talisman, still writing mystical runes with his blood. After he finished, he lightly touched the yellow talisman and shouted, "Demon suppression!" The yellow talisman flew towards the mountain and sank into it. Heaven and earth went silent for a moment. Suddenly, billions of screams and screams pierced through the mountain, resounding across the sky. The screams were so painful and tragic, as if they've been through all the torture in the world, unable to endure it any longer. Fresh blood seeped out of the mountain and dyed the entire mountain a stinking red. Rumble, rumble, rumble. As the mountain broke apart, the Black Temple turned into a streak of light, about to fly to the sky. Just you wait, I'll definitely bring billions of Tianma back to kill you. An indistinct voice filled with deep hatred rang out from the Black Pagoda Temple. Hearing that, Xianyuan Tianzuan coldly laughed. You destroyed my mountain and still want to run? He tapped his inventory bag, took out a jade flute and put it to his lip. The murderous sound of the flute was heard. Listening to the sound of the flute, the 100 Flowers fairy suddenly sighed. It's been so many years since I last heard it, the song of the mountain god left behind from the age of legends. Following the sound of the flute, the blue mountain suddenly turned into a giant hand that rose from the ground, grabbing towards the sky. The Black Temple was already flying fast enough, but it couldn't outrun the speed of the earth. Chapter 229. The giant arm slowly pulled back, wrapping around the Black Temple, and dragged it deeper into the ground. No! A shrill and unwilling voice resounded from inside the temple. The temple tried its best to fly towards the sky, but the hand formed from the earth grabbed onto the temple and pulled it down. While the two sides were in a stalemate, countless weapons once again appeared from the Black Temple, burning with green flames as they slashed towards the giant hand formed from the mountain. Under the attacks of the weapons, the giant hand was quickly disappearing, about to break in half. Seeing that, Xianyuan Tianzuan silently circulated his spirit energy to play the jade flute. The sound of the flute became louder and louder, as if it was piercing through space itself. The boundless earth slowly moved, countless rocks and dirt rose up from the ground, chasing after the giant hand and patching the broken parts of the hand back together. The green flame weapons were still attacking the giant hand, while the earth kept patching up. The two sides were in a stalemate, unable to determine a winner. A layer of sweat slowly appeared on Xianyuan Tianzuan's forehead as the sound of the flute slowed down. Xie Dao Ling glanced at him, then suddenly said, "I'll help you," lightly tapping the ground. Her graceful body turned into a streak of light and flew straight into the sky. Very quickly, she went past the giant hand, went past the Black Temple, and flew even higher up into the sky. Xie Dao Ling stopped in the middle of the intense wind, staring down at the Black Temple below. "The three of us are using everything we have. If we still can't stop you, wouldn't that be a joke?" she muttered. Lowering her body, Xie Dao Ling turned into a falling meteor. Her falling speed was so fast, and it was still accelerating. In the end, only a faint emerald-green shadow could be seen. The green shadow was quickly diving down from the sky. The endless martial thaumaturgy power was almost solid, slowly gathering around the green shadow and manifesting into a single thing. It was a gigantic humanoid monster. To be exact, it couldn't be considered humanoid, because its face was barely recognizable as a human face, but its body was that of a long snake. This was a mythical creature from the age of old, but Xie Dao Ling used some kind of secret technique to manifest its figure. The humanoid monster seemed to be filled with endless anger, tightly wrapping the green shadow around it as it charged straight towards the Black Temple. The Black Temple seemed to have noticed something wasn't right, as a figure tried to fly away. "Where do you think you're going?" the emerald-green silhouette shouted softly. She suddenly accelerated again and disappeared from the sky. Divine skill, ground shrink. In a split second, the emerald-green figure appeared once again and directly imprinted itself on the figure that was trying to escape. Then, it brought the figure along and crashed into the Black Pagoda Temple. There was no movement. There were no moves. There was no back-and-forth attack and defense. There were no attacks aimed at vital points. The power of the 10,000 martial thaumaturgy turned into a collision. Martial path, divine skill, unbreakable mountain range. Bang! An invisible wave swept across the sky. The earth-shattering sound of the collision was like a thunderclap, resounding through the clouds. Under this ferocious collision, the entire Black Pagoda Temple, along with the giant earth hand, turned into millions of fragments, completely disintegrating. They danced and fell from the sky. The formless heavenly demon Holy King's body was broken in half, barely stopping in the air. In the next moment, it tried its best to roll and fly, chasing after the lower half of its body that was falling. "This can't be right. How could there be such a powerful sainted realm cultivator?" It spat out a mouthful of green blood, screaming in panic. But Xianyuan Tianzuan was already waiting for her to appear. The murderous sound of the flute resounded again. The earth once again reached out a mountain-like arm, straight up to the sky, grabbing the formless heavenly demon Holy King in its hand. No matter how much the formless heavenly demon Holy King struggled, the arm quickly retracted, sinking deep into the ground. Xianyuan Tianzuan continued to play the flute without stopping. The earth continued to shake, as if something was desperately struggling. In the intense west wind, the murderous sound of the flute slowly drifted towards the human and demon armies. Under the sound of the flute, every living being was as silent as a cicada in winter, unable to even move a single inch. After half an incense stick's worth of time, the earth finally stopped shaking. Xianyuan Tianzuan finally put down the flute. He spoke with a tired expression. "It's dead." The 100 Flowers fairy had already landed next to him, nodded. "You've worked hard." She swung her sleeve, releasing the great monk of sorrow. The three of them stood side by side, high up in the sky, looking down at the earth below. "We've won," Xianyuan Tianzuan sighed in relief. "Ba, it wasn't easy, but we've finally won." The great monk of sorrow also spoke. "A win is a win," Xie Daoling smiled. "The demon lord and the other powerful demons aren't here. We only managed to win by taking advantage of the situation. We can't be too arrogant, and we definitely can't let our guard down for the next period of time." Hearing that, the second saint felt a chill down his spine. "Let's go, we'll go down to see the beast saints before returning to humanity's camp." Saying so, Xie Daoling flew down. A few hours later, the remaining 100 or so spirit beasts were captured. They had been possessed by the Tianma for a few dozen years, so now that the Tianma was dead, the spirit beasts all lost their sanity and went berserk, biting anyone they saw. The great monk of sorrow carefully investigated and concluded. If they weren't willing, the Tianma wouldn't have been able to possess them so easily. In other words, this time, the spirit beasts were tempted by the Tianma and agreed to betray humanity. Just like the demon beasts, they wanted to defeat humanity, enslave humanity, and use them as food while they become the masters of this world. Perhaps they were also victims, because the longer they were possessed by the Tianma, the more their sanity would be affected. But they didn't know this at all. Humanity's camp. All the great cultivators were gathered in one place, sitting on top of the command platform. Below the platform, the cultivators were all smiling happily, celebrating the victory of the decisive battle. Wu Xingwen stood up and began to count his military achievements. He didn't participate in the previous battle, but the exhaustion on his face was much heavier than anyone else's. The Tianma had infiltrated his thoughts and manipulated his thoughts. Just thinking about it made him feel goosebumps all over his body. Fortunately, the great monk of sorrow was an expert in dealing with the Tianma, so he only needed a single strike to kill it. Otherwise, if the Tianma went berserk, it would have dragged him down with it. Zhen Wei Chaplain Li Cha, meritorious service in investigating the enemy, meritorious service in slaying demons, accumulated meritorious service, now promoted to Zhao Wu Chaplain, Centurion Sun Ming, meritorious service in slaying demons, accumulated meritorious service, now promoted to 1000 Cavalry Captain, Soldier Wang Fa, meritorious service in saving his comrades, accumulated meritorious service, now promoted to Chief 10. As he continued to read, he didn't know that the three saints were looking at him with complicated gazes. UG General Ning Yuechan Wu Xingwen read the jade tag in his hand, participated in the decisive battle secret mission, meritorious service, now promoted to Ding Yuan General, humanity's 4th Ding Yuan General. Chapter 230. Ning Yuechan was a bit surprised, glancing at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan was standing behind 100 Flowers Fairy, smiling as she sent her voice. "This is the will of the saints. I didn't do anything," Ning Yuechan answered. "How did you not do anything? You saved me, otherwise if I died, how would the saints know about the inside story?" Gu Qingshan answered. Ning Yuechan thought about it. But since you've been promoted, you'll have to treat me to a meal later, he added. Sure, Ning Yuechan answered. Then you'll cook for me. Gu Qingshan didn't take it lying down. Do you want me to feed you? Ning Yuechan squinted her eyes. Ahaha, no need, I'm just joking. Gu Qingshan's inner sight quickly retracted. Humph, Ning Yuechan was a bit annoyed. The other Ding Yuan general, Monk Ming Hui, asked, what kind of secret mission was it, and who was the one who saved them, to receive such a great merit? Wu Xingwen answered, it's a mission to find out the truth behind the spirit beast's betrayal. Monk Hui showed an expression of understanding and didn't ask any more. In this ambush, the demons either died or surrendered. It could be said that the outcome was decided in a single battle, completely out of everyone's expectations. If Ning Yuechan really did participate in a mission related to the spirit beasts, no one would have anything to say if he was promoted. Wu Xingwen continued. Zhao Wu chaplain Leng Tianxing participated in the final battle's secret mission, contributed greatly in finding clues. Because of his previous merits, he was promoted to Yu-Ji General, another general. The crowd was shocked. It must be the spirit beast's betrayal. Only this mission that decided the outcome of the battle could allow Leng Tianxing to be promoted to general. Leng Tianxing nodded to Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan also nodded to him. Needless to say, the two of them had a tacit understanding. Wu Xingwen didn't stop until he reached the end, then said, by Hua Sex Gu Qingshan's matter has been investigated. She was framed by a spirit beast. She didn't try to harm any of her comrades, so she will continue her position. Hearing that, the cultivators silently nodded. Who would have thought that the spirit beast, which had always been loyal to him, would lie and betray him? It could only be said that no one had expected this. This person was also unlucky, but after this battle, the injustice on his body should have been washed away. Wu Xingwen was also secretly regretting. After spending so much effort this time, the other party is still safe and sound, and I even offended by Hua Saint. It really isn't worth it. Although it was the work of the heavenly demon, he was not completely clean. He had to be more careful in the future. At this moment someone shouted, I don't believe it! There must be something wrong with him. The crowd looked over and saw a young man from the spirit beast sect. This young man was Li Chuchen's younger brother, Li Duan. Li Duan angrily pointed at Gu Qingshan and said, do you dare to search my soul? The crowd was in an uproar. Spirit beasts have already been proven to have betrayed humanity. Gu Qingshan is a saint's direct disciple, and 100 Flowers Fairy still doesn't have a good expression on her face. Under such circumstances, Li Duan still dares to do such a thing. Does he really not want to live anymore? Wu Xingwen was also silently cursing. Such a brainless and impulsive young man is easy to use, but as soon as the situation changes, he'll become very troublesome. Sure enough, Bai Hua Saint spoke up. Why do you want to search his soul? Xie Daoling asked. He killed my brother. Under the saint's stare, Li Duan was trembling, but still stubbornly insisted. Spirit beast sect master and elders all came forward, wanting to pull him away. 100 Flowers Fairy raised her hand and lightly waved to stop the spirit beast sect people. It's fine, let him stand here. This saint was about to ask him about this, Xie Daoling said. It's over. The spirit beast sect people all silently cursed. It's you, spreading lies and deceiving this general. You should be executed according to military law. Wu Xingwen took out a talisman and was about to act. I said let him stand here, Xie Daoling coldly said. Wu Xingwen clenched his teeth, but didn't dare to act rashly. He held the talisman in his hand for a long while before finally pulling it back. The talisman in his hand had already been crushed into pieces. He killed your brother because he didn't follow military law, Xie Daoling looked at Li Duan and said. But who can prove it? If he had malicious intentions, who would know? Li Duan asked. He went through the examination of the heart, The cultivators of Yao Guang sect and Heaven's Limit sect also went through the examination of the heart. According to humanity's military law, he has passed, Xie Daoling continued. That's definitely not the truth. General Wu already told me, there's definitely something wrong with him. Li Dowen shouted without giving up. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. You're slandering me, Wu Xingwen angrily threw a talisman. Don't! General, please calm down. The guard cultivator shouted in panic. General Wu. The young man opened his eyes wide, looking at Wu Xingwen in disbelief. Stop! Spirit Beast Sex Master jumped out, blocking in front of the young man and angrily shouted. At this moment the entire scene became chaotic. But 100 Flowers Fairy just sat there without moving, only silently watching this. Next to her, Xianyuan Tianzuan couldn't sit still anymore, grabbing the air. The yellow talisman that was flying towards the young man turned around and landed in his hand. Traitorous disciple, what are you trying to do? He shouted. Wu Xingwen stood up straight, angrily shouting. Master, he's just a little soldier, yet he dares to slander me in front of everyone. He's just a little soldier, yet he dares to slander you? Xianyuan Tianzuan slowly spoke. He stared at his disciple, his eyes full of disappointment. Xianyuan Tianzuan sighed and ordered. Men, come, examination of the heart. 100 Flowers Fairy stayed silent. 2 cultivators came out, standing in front of Wu Xingwen. The 2 of them clasped their fists. The saint's orders, General, please do us a favor. Wu Xingwen's mouth opened and closed, unable to say anything. He can't ignore Shifu's words, but to tell the truth. The 2 cultivators waited for a bit, exchanged looks, then one of them spoke. General, please tell us everything from start to finish, so that we can finish our work. Wu Xingwen struggled to speak. I feel that Li Chuchen's death is a bit strange. The 2 cultivators nodded. Wu Xingwen continued. So I sent someone to summon Spirit Beast Sex people, asked them where Li Chuchen's Spirit Beast bag is, then believed the Spirit Beast's words. The 2 cultivators nodded again. Wu Xingwen continued. So I summoned Gu Qingshan, as well as Spirit Beast Sex people to have them face to face. The 2 cultivators stopped, then shook their heads. The way they looked at Wu Xingwen changed. One of them turned to the 3 saints and reported. General is lying. Xianyuan Tianzuan's expression was grim. He sighed, asking, My disciple, do you know why the Tianma entered your thought sea, while Gongsun Ji and Ming Hui were still safe? Your disciple doesn't know, Wu Xingwen answered. Because your heart wasn't righteous, you wanted to harm others. This became an obsession in your heart, giving the Tianma a chance. As one of humanity's 3 Ding Yuan generals, you were taken advantage of by the Tianma. If you didn't notice it in time, not only would you have died, many more human cultivators would have died. Chapter 231. Xianyuan Tianzuan's expression wasn't very good. According to causality, this time, if it wasn't for Gu Qingshan discovering the truth and preparing a counterattack, he would have been sent to the Tianma realm and died. This is a huge debt of karma, but his own disciple still tried to frame him. Although it was the Tianma's doing, if Wu Xingwen didn't have such intentions, the Tianma wouldn't have been able to do anything. It was because of his bad intentions and evil intentions that the Tianma was able to infiltrate his thought sea. What happened afterwards, even if it was the Tianma's doing, Wu Xingwen still couldn't escape the blame. If he doesn't handle this well, Xianyuan Tianzuan's own Dao heart will have problems. Thinking that, Xianyuan Tianzuan took out a black talisman and threw it out. Stick it on your forehead, he spoke in a low voice. Wu Xingwen caught the talisman, looked at his Shifu's expression, gritted his teeth and stuck the talisman on his forehead. Xianyuan Tianzuan lightly touched the talisman from afar and said, Quick! The black talisman turned into a mist and went into Wu Xingwen's ears. Wu Xingwen's eyes lost their focus, blankly standing on the platform. Soul Search Talisman? 100 Flowers Fairy asked. My blue cloud sect always does things in the open. If there's any crime, we'll show it to everyone and deal with it accordingly, Xianyuan Tianzuan answered. 100 Flowers Fairy nodded in satisfaction. Ask again, Xianyuan Tianzuan said to the two cultivators in charge of questioning their minds. Yes, the two cultivators didn't dare to hesitate, hurriedly walked up and asked again, What did you do about Gu Qing Shan? Wu Xingwen blankly answered. Spirit beast sex Li Dewen, young and naive, angry at his brother's death. I used words to slander Gu Qing Shan's reputation. Hearing that, Li Dewen was a bit surprised. From the very beginning, something seemed to have gone wrong. To me, this was just something I wanted to do, but after thinking about it, my mind became clouded, unable to judge anything, Wu Xingwen blankly said. In my stupor, thoughts kept popping up in my mind, manipulating my actions until I couldn't stop myself, slowly forgetting about the final battle and started to plan a way to kill him. The cultivators all sighed as they heard that. Wu Xingwen wanted to ruin his reputation, but was taken advantage by the Tianzuan demon, causing the entire camp to isolate Gu Qing Shan. Luckily, the three saints arrived, so he couldn't carry out the follow-up plan. As matters stood, not only had he been taken advantage of by the heavenly demons, but his master had even searched his soul, causing him to lose all standing and reputation. He couldn't blame anyone else for this cause and effect. He could only blame himself for reaping what he sowed. Li Duan stared blankly at this scene and murmured, Why? Why did you lie to me? Shen Shifu, Shen Tuli Gu Qing Shan God that his brother was, Wu Qing Shan's Zunli was killed. Heli Li Shen, kneeled Li Tian. Tian XT. Li Shen Xian Tian's Qi. Tian. Wu. Only now did Wu Xingwen wake up. He knew everything that happened just now, but he couldn't stop himself from saying it out loud. This time, I'm really done for. He stood alone on the platform. All the cultivators looked at him, their previous admiration and respect turned into cold stares. The final battle is right around the corner, yet he's only thinking about slandering others. How can such thoughts convince the masses? Wu Xingwen felt his heart slowly falling into the abyss. Xianyuan Tianzuan didn't even bother to look at him anymore, turned to ask 100 Flowers Fairy. What do you think we should do? 100 Flowers Fairy looked at Monk of Sorrow and said, I'm not familiar with military law, whatever you say goes, Amitba. He's no longer fit to be a general, Monk of Sorrow spoke with a serious expression. I think we can follow military law, strip him of his general rank and start anew as a soldier. Seeing how 100 Flowers Fairy was about to raise her eyebrows, Monk of Sorrow quickly added, Furthermore, slandering a saint's disciple, causing him to suffer humiliation, he should receive another 300 lashes. 100 Flowers Fairy's beautiful eyebrows finally smoothed out. 300 lashes, all of them infused with spirit energy. The person being whipped has to take off their shirt, not allowed to use any techniques to resist. If they resist, they'll be punished with 10 lashes. Not only does the person being whipped have no dignity, but they also have to endure physical pain. Although this punishment is relatively light and didn't take Wu Xingwen's life, it completely took away his dignity as a cultivator. 100 Flowers Fairy was satisfied with Xianyuan Tianzuan's attitude, so she handed the matter over to Monk of Sorrow. This way they're completely relying on military law, there won't be any direct conflict between the two saints, both sides won't lose face. This kind of punishment doesn't take Wu Xingwen's life, taking Xianyuan Tianzuan's feelings into consideration and allowing 100 Flowers Fairy to sigh in relief. Sure enough, as Xianyuan Tianzuan heard this, his expression softened a bit. Xie Daoling then turned around and asked Gu Qing Shan, What do you think? Gu Qing Shan thought for a bit, then said, I want to talk to him for a bit, go, Xie Daoling said. In front of the three saints, in front of all the cultivators present, Gu Qing Shan walked in front of Wu Xingwen and stopped. Wu Xingwen scoffed, glaring at Gu Qing Shan. Damn it, it's all this brat's fault. Are you here to humiliate me? He lowered his voice, glaring at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan answered, No, I'm here to ask you something. It's already come to this, what else do you want to ask? Gu Qingshan stared straight at Wu Xingwen and asked, As a Ding Yuan general, during the decisive war between humans and demons, you tried to go against a single person like me. Do you think you did the right thing? Wu Xingwen stared at her deeply, gritting his teeth. I am the eldest brother of Blue Cloud's Pass, and my junior brother was killed by you during the semester examination. Gu Qingshan didn't avoid his gaze and spoke very seriously. During the entire semester examination, my Baihua sect was only a spectator, but Li Chang'an incited a dozen people to not only go against me, but also humiliate my sect. Whose fault was that? Wu Xingwen didn't say anything. If you really cared about your junior brother, you should have cared for him while he was still alive, taught him by example, taught him how to be a person, taught him not to ruin the reputation of other sects. Gu Qingshan met his gaze and spoke. You were the eldest brother of your sect, but you didn't take good care of your own junior brother, allowing him to be arrogant, humiliating the reputation of other sects, causing him to die in the end. Isn't that your responsibility? Gu Qingshan slowly spoke. Before your junior brother died, you didn't teach him well at all. After he died, you tried to frame him for your own benefit, even thinking that you were taking revenge for your junior brother. As the head disciple of the sect, do you really think that I'm the one at fault here, and not you? Wu Xingwen was stunned, unable to say anything for a while. Gu Qingshan shook her head and walked back. Her lips curled up a bit, but then felt that it was a bit inappropriate, so she quickly straightened her face. She ordered, Men, execute him. Following her order, Wu Xingwen was stripped of his general armor by 2 enforcer cultivators and carried away to be executed. The whip continued to swing. In front of everyone, Wu Xingwen was being punished. Chapter 232. Towards Wu Xingwen's screams and screams, the 100 Flowers Fairy didn't seem to hear it at all. She smiled at the great monk of sorrow and Xianyuan Tianzuan, asking, I'll do it? The great monk of sorrow replied, Ba, benefactor Xie, then we'll have to trouble you. Xianyuan Tianzuan also nodded. Xie Daoling then stood up, walked up the platform and spoke to the cultivators in the camp. The reason why we won this war was all because of a single person's plan. The rewards for this war haven't been given to him yet, so I'll talk about this. It's here. The cultivators all silently muttered. Just how did they win this war? Everyone was confused, and a big question mark was drawn in their hearts. Before the final war, right as they were about to leave, the 3 saints suddenly came and said that they wanted to find the traitor of humanity. After that, everyone went through the main tent in the camp. They only remembered that as soon as they entered the camp, the world around them spun and they found themselves in a small world. There, Xianyuan Tianzuan and the great monk of sorrow personally arranged their tactics and missions, telling everyone to be ready and fight as soon as they leave. When they reappeared, they found themselves near Demon Cloud's river. Not too far away, the demons and spirit beasts were all either dead or wounded. Everyone was silently surprised, but didn't have time to think too much. They could only follow the 3 saints' orders and quickly prepare for battle. After that, the 3 saints personally fought against the Tianma, and the demon race surrendered. Everyone only had to control the large-scale war formation to attack a beast saint a few times, then watch the great battle between the 3 saints and the Tianma. The war was won just like that. Not a single person was injured, not a single person died, they won just like that. Everyone couldn't believe it. It wasn't until after the war was over that the spirit beast's betrayal became widely known. The cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air. If this was on the battlefield, when they were fighting against the demons and the spirit beasts suddenly ambushed them from behind, the consequences would be unimaginable. Who in the world discovered this shocking secret? If they didn't discover such an important piece of information, humanity would have most likely lost this war under the ambush of the demons and spirit beasts. And also, how did the saints manage to win? There were clearly 13 beast saints on the demon race's side. This number had always been a headache for the three sages. Why was it suddenly solved today? These matters were like mysteries that tickled the hearts of the cultivators, and they wished for nothing more than to know the truth. But no one dared to take the initiative to ask the three saints. Now, 100 Flowers Fairy was finally going to tell the whole story. Under the expectant gazes of the cultivators, the 100 Flowers Fairy smiled and spoke. One person managed to discover the truth behind the betrayal of the spirit beasts after infiltrating the demon realm. The crowd buzzed and began to discuss. As expected, it was this matter. 100 Flowers Fairy continued. This person proposed his own strategy for the final battle. His tactical arrangement, after being discussed by me, Xianyuan Tianzuan, and the Great Monk of Sorrow, we all agreed that it was the perfect tactical arrangement. As for the results of this tactical arrangement, everyone has seen it. 6 demon saints have gone to another world and will never be able to return. Several tens of thousands of spirit beasts, as well as over 100,000 demons, fell into our ambush. All of them were either killed or wounded. Only a few were left, unable to fight against humanity anymore. At this point, 100 Flowers Fairy paused a bit, then continued. But when I arrived at the front lines, I found out that he was accused of bullying the weak, using excuses to kill, and was isolated by everyone. An uproar took place among the cultivators. Obviously, the smarter cultivators already knew who 100 Flowers Fairy was talking about. But they still couldn't believe it. Then 100 Flowers Fairy spoke. Shao-Chi Chaplain Gu Qing-shan. Here, under everyone's watchful eyes, Gu Qing-shan once again stepped forward. You exposed the truth behind the betrayal of the spirit beasts and saved the cultivators of the various sects. This is a great merit. You also came up with a plan to help us three deceive the world, forcing the demon race to reap what they sow, killing 6 beast saints in one fell swoop. This is a great merit. In this battle, your performance has proven that you are a talented general. You've accumulated 2 merits, exceeding the requirement for a chaplain. 100 Flowers Fairy paused a bit, looking at her disciple, very pleased. She declared, After our discussion, we've decided to promote you to UG General. Yes, men, grant him the golden armor and change his badge. Thank you, Saint. Following the conversation between 100 Flowers Fairy and Gu Qing-shan, the entire camp went into an uproar. It was him. So he was the one who did all of this. Everyone carefully thought about it, then realized. No wonder the spirit beasts wanted to slander him. The Tianma must have already found out. He must have found out the truth. But Wu Xingwen didn't know anything about this and even cooperated with the spirit beasts to suppress him. If Gu Qing-shan didn't tell the saint about the betrayal of the spirit beasts, quite a few people rubbed their waists, imagining the scene of the spirit beasts suddenly jumping out and attacking them. That scene would be terrifying. Just like that, they owe him a huge favor. Those who still couldn't believe it all looked at the other 2 saints. The Great Monk of Sorrow and Xianyuan Tianzuan both smiled, nodding approvingly. No one had any more doubts. If the 2 saints reacted like that, then this couldn't have been a master-disciple show of by Hua sect. When the cultivators looked at Gu Qing-shan again, their eyes changed. Some were relieved, some were ashamed, and of course, some were thinking about how to apologize. Cultivation is a cultivation of the heart, even though I was deceived, but it's still wrong of me to mock him like that. If I don't do anything, my Tao heart won't be smooth, which won't benefit me at all. Desperate screams came from the execution ground. At first, there were still some people whispering in sympathy, but now, no one mentions Wu Xingwen anymore. It was as if the man and his screams had all disappeared. Very well, I'll now announce 2 things, 100 Flowers Fairy said. First, from now on, all spirit beasts must swear on their inner demons before they can be used by humanity. If there are any spirit beasts that aren't willing to swear on their inner demons, they are not allowed to interact with humanity. Those who violate this rule will be killed. Everyone was shocked, but no one dared to say anything. No explanation, no unnecessary words, only the word kill. This was by Hua Saint's style. Second, everyone is to rest here. 3 days later. She stopped, waiting for everyone to go silent. A few cultivators gulped nervously, while others stared at her without saying a word. The entire camp quickly went silent. No one said anything, no one even moved. Everyone was silent. Xie Daoling's gaze swept through the entire camp, raised her voice and declared, "We are about to attack Xin Wu world." Chapter 233. Night. Gu Qingshan was sitting in his tent. In front of him was a jade tag, a set of golden armor, and 2 quivers of black arrows. The jade tag came from the great monk of sorrow, a gift to thank him for his plan. Gu Qingshan suggested the 100 Flowers fairy to turn into the 3 saints to lure Venerable Xian's trap. If not for that, even the great monk of sorrow would have fallen for it and been sent to the Tianma realm. After all, Venerable Xian had already planned for this day to come, while the 3 saints didn't know anything about what was about to happen. Gu Qingshan picked up the jade tag. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. Discovered the great god protection secret art. Would you like to spend 30 soul points to learn it? Gu Qingshan pondered, considering whether or not to learn it. According to the great monk of sorrow, after learning this technique, both the heretic Tianma and all other hypnotic charms will have no way to take advantage of them. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then chose yes. Great God Protection secret art has been learned, remaining soul points 270. Immediately, a warm flow came from the jade tag, flowed into Gu Qingshan's hand, and returned to his thought sea. Gu Qingshan immediately understood the secret behind this technique. Techniques that can protect the soul vessel from temptation and resist the Tianma's manipulation are very rare. Normally only Buddhists would have such technique. This time, if I didn't make such a great contribution, if the great monk of sorrow didn't always like to help his juniors, I wouldn't have been able to learn this technique. How miraculous! He muttered. This technique, after learning it, doesn't need to be used normally. Only when the soul vessel is attacked, or when a Tianma approaches, will this technique automatically activate. Once this technique is activated, as long as a Tianma approaches, or a soul-luring technique is used, the technique will activate the Great God Protection secret art to protect the caster's soul vessel from being attacked. This is a form of protection. Gu Qingshan was very pleased with this. He looked at the golden armor again. This set of golden armor consisted of a breastplate, shoulder guards, arm guards, gauntlets, belt, knee pads, and combat boot. They were all brand new, of excellent quality and moderate thickness. No matter what kind of weapon was used to hit it, it would not leave any mark. Among the set of armor, Gu Qingshan even saw a silver mask. When he first met Ning Yuechan, he saw her wearing a silver armor like this. Gu Qingshan had thought that it belonged to Ning Yuechan, but now it seemed that it was one of the general's armor sets. He held the silver armor in his hand and weighed it. The silver-armored visor was as thin as a cicada's wing and extremely light. When he squeezed it with his hand, the visor didn't budge at all. Even his divine sense couldn't penetrate it. Good stuff, he praised. This was a piece of UG general-grade equipment. Every piece of golden armor was covered in runes, but if one looked closely, the runes would disappear from time to time, and nothing could be seen. This set of armor wasn't cheap at all. To make a single one, it would take 5 to 6 master smiths working for 3 months straight to complete. This armor can greatly increase a cultivator's defense. On the battlefield, defense is life. A sword cultivator already has a lot of killing power, so if they have this armor, they can ignore defense and only use their full strength to attack. For a sword cultivator's enemy, this is a very scary thing. Next to the golden armor were 2 quivers full of black arrows. They were all demon-slaying arrows. After Gu Qingshan went to the general's armory to take a look, he found that most of the general's weapons weren't bad, but none of them were better than the Earth Sword and the Night Rain. Those weapons were mostly at least spirit tools. But the Earth Sword in my hand has an ancient inheritance. According to Shifu, it still hasn't fully unleashed its power. The Night Rain was also a bow passed down from Ning Yuechan's ancestor. Not only is it unparalleled in power, it also has a special meaning. Gu Qingshan doesn't want to change either of these weapons, so he asked for 2 quivers of demon-slaying arrows. Armor and arrows. Gu Qingshan was very satisfied. But more importantly, Gu Qingshan opened the War God UI and looked at his quest. Destiny Quest. Decisive Battle 1. Quest Objective. Only by standing high enough will you have enough influence to influence this decisive battle. You must raise your military rank to Zhao Wu Chaplain during the first half of the battle. If the quest fails, the reward will be taken back. The user will not be able to raise their cultivation for the next 3 years. After reading through the quest description again, he turned into a streak of light and disappeared. What replaced it was a line of glowing text. You've completed the Destiny Quest. Decisive Battle 1. For now, you still have the right to use War God title until the quest is completed. Because you've completed the quest more than enough, you've gained a lot of reputation during the battle, you've gained a new title. Because you've completed the quest more than enough, the amount of time you can stay in reality has increased to 7 days. Note: after 7 days, when you return to the cultivation world, you will return to the moment you left. Gu Qingshan ignored the last part and quickly clicked on the War God title icon. The name of War God resounds across the world, spreading to every corner of the world. Your title is the manifestation of your will. User Gu Qingshan. Current titles. 3. Attention, you can only equip 1 title at a time. Title 1. 15th Sword, Personal Title. Description: on the day of the semester examination, you sent 15 top 15 cultivators flying with a single strike, so the name Sword 15 has spread among the newcomers of various sects. Equipping this title grants you the unique skill. Sound Shock, Primary. Sound Shock, Primary. During the attack, the weapon will interfere with the enemy's soul vessel. A Title 2. UG General. Note: Shao Qi Chaplain title has been overwritten. Description: this is the 4th highest military rank in the human Allied army. Equipping this title grants you the unique skill. Quick Attack, Intermediate. Quick Attack, Intermediate. The user's attack speed is increased by 15%. A Title 3. The Talent of a General. A description: because you were able to grasp the development of the war, you took the chance to create a strategy to lure the enemy in, thus heavily injuring the demons and laying the foundation for victory. One of the 3 saints of the world, the 100 Flowers Fairy, praised you in front of everyone as having the talent of a general. This evaluation was acknowledged by all cultivators in the world. Equipping this title grants you the unique skill. Rampaging Sword Chi. Rampaging Sword Chi. An innumerable amount of fine sword chi drifts around your sword. Whenever you activate this skill, the sword chi will manifest into a shadow and perform an additional attack. Note: this title skill can only be used when using swords. Looking at the 2 title skills, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but click her tongue. Rampaging Sword Chi is extremely powerful, and a quick attack is even more so. With his current level of swordsmanship, whether it's an additional attack or a 15% increase in attack speed, the effects are both shocking. Even Shao Qi Chaplain's title skill that increases attack speed by 10% was enough for Gu Qingshan to instantly kill Flame Cloud chasing Sky Crane, let alone UG General's title skill, which increases attack speed by 15%. For a powerful sword cultivator, even a slight increase in attack speed can change the outcome of a battle. Chapter 234. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then changed the title to a talented general. Drawing his sword, he infused it with spirit energy. A misty mist lingered around the sword. This mist was made up of fragmented sword chi. It surrounded the body of the long sword and completely enveloped it. Gu Qingshan swung his sword, then quickly used Kai Shan style. As he swung his sword, the sword mist followed him closely. That way, the enemy won't be able to see where the sword is, and won't be able to accurately judge Gu Qingshan's attack. What an unexpected gain, Gu Qingshan muttered. Raising his sword, he suddenly thrust forward. When this strike was about to end, he suddenly used rampaging sword chi. The mist around the sword turned into a sword phantom. Following the first thrust, he thrust forward a second time. Not bad, it's a good skill to be able to catch people off guard, Gu Qingshan commented. After trying it out, he switched to the title of UG General. The mist around the sword disappeared. After sensing it for a bit, Gu Qingshan swung his sword, using the full set of wind/style. Inside the tent, the only thing that could be seen was Gu Qingshan's figure constantly moving, while the sword in his hand turned into an indiscernible shadow, giving the illusion that the sword didn't exist at all. Even the air itself couldn't handle it. Wherever the sword went, the air would be cut apart, letting out a shrill scream. This was the effect of the sword being too fast. Gu Qingshan put his sword away. The entire tent returned to silence. Gu Qingshan smiled. He was very pleased with the title skill. He looked at the War God UI again. Ever since the title skill was updated, the UI hasn't changed. That's strange. Decisive Battle 1 is obviously half a quest, but it's already completed, but the second half of the quest is still nowhere to be seen. Could it be that I have to wait until the corresponding situation triggers the relevant conditions for the second half of the quest to appear? That should be the case. That time should be when the cultivators of the cultivation world attack Shen Wu world. 3 days later, Gu Qingshan looked at the hourglass. In a few more minutes, the hourglass would be empty. He sat in silence for a while. With a flash of light, he disappeared from the cultivation world. Heavy rain. The rain poured down in torrents. A hand reached out from the pile of corpses by the roadside. A sword phantom came, falling into the pile of corpses, and killed the man-killer fiend that hadn't climbed out yet. Gu Qingshan held her sword and silently raised her head. There was no wind between heaven and earth. Boundless dark clouds hung low in the sky, and heavy rain poured down. The entire city was quiet. Only the sound of rainwater hitting the buildings could be heard. Gu Qingshan stretched out her hand and caught the rainwater, staring at it blankly. Just standing in the rain for a few breaths, Gu Qingshan's entire body was drenched. However, he didn't seem to feel it. He just stared at the rainwater in his hand. It was rain. It's raining. Gu Qingshan's heart sank. He opened the War God UI and glanced at the notifications. It was blank. Before, you told me to hide from the world's space-time changes. Now that I've returned, what changes are there? He asked. Ting. The War God UI replied. Changes have been completed, but up until now, the War God UI has not found any storyline triggers. Gu Qingshan went silent for a bit. Suddenly, a small-sized shuttle descended from the sky and landed in front of him. The door opened. There was no one inside. Sir, the rain isn't good for your body, impartial goddess voice came. Thank you for your concern, but I want to ask, has anything strange happened in this world? Sea monsters continue to come ashore, destroying coastal cities. Man-killer fiends continue to grow stronger. Every country in the world has gathered at the Federation to discuss, what else? The Saint Orlank's empire has split, the Revolutionary Army, Royalists and the Holy Church are fighting for themselves, what else? The rest are things that Sir Gu Qingshan isn't interested in. What I'm asking is, has anything new or unimaginable happened in this world? No abnormalities have been discovered. Gu Qingshan paused for a bit. He let go of the rein in his hand, sighed and quickly entered the cabin. The door quickly closed. The small-sized shuttle took to the sky and flew far away. Inside the shuttle, A new set of clean clothes was neatly stacked on the pilot's seat with a glass of fruit juice next to it. Kiwi fruit mixed with orange juice, Sir's favorite flavor. Thank you. Gu Qingshan changed his clothes, sat on the pilot's seat and fell into thought. Following the rain, the unstoppable apocalypse was slowly approaching. But from the current situation, what happened in the past life won't happen in the same order in this life. Then, what exactly is it? Nothing is happening right now, and the apocalypse is also different from the past life. Since he doesn't know what will happen next, he can only wait. If a world's apocalypse online descends half a year earlier, Gu Qingshan would naturally welcome it with open arms. Ever since his return, in just a few short days, Gu Qingshan has already experienced too much. A single person wanting to fight against the invasion of countless demons is nothing but a fool's dream. If everyone can enter the cultivation world, that would be the best news of all. How are Yi Fei Li and Zhang Yongho doing? He asked. A screen turned on to show the scene of a certain place. Yi Fei Li, Zhang Yongho, as well as an unfamiliar man were sitting around a table with a sumptuous dinner on it. Gu Qingshan looked at the unfamiliar man. He had a square face, a full beard, and an old-fashioned smoking pipe in his hand. He ate very slowly. His movements were calm and elegant, just like a top-notch aristocrat. This was a handsome old man. But his eyes were too sharp, ruining the image of a gentleman that his appearance gave him. Peh, peh. This chicken is too spicy, damn it, don't you have anything sweet? The man suddenly cursed. As soon as he said that, his overall impression of him crumbled. Gu Qingshan scowled and asked, "Who is this?" "Liao Xing, scientist, inventor of warp technology. Why doesn't he look the same as I remember? You ordered me to give him a plastic surgery when he comes back." "Ah, I remember now. But how did it end up like this? The difference is too big." He drew the portrait himself. "Fine, when he returned you weren't here, so I sent him there." As Gu Qingshan said that, she heard a conversation from the screen. "Bro, why are you wearing sunglasses while eating? The chicks don't like that kind of look." Liao Xing glared at the young man in front of him. Hearing that, Yi Fei Li took off his sunglasses, revealing his bloodshot eyes. "Because I'm a man-killer fiend." He put his sunglasses aside and focused on eating the lobster. "Oh my god!" Liao Xing was shocked, quickly looking at Zhang Yongho. Zhang Yongho shrugged, expressing that he didn't have anything to say. Liao Xing quickly calmed down, muttering in thought, "Man-killer fiend, the boss of a hitman organization, the brat who hacked impartial goddess, and me, a warp bomb expert." Chapter 235. Zhang Yongho scowled. "That's not it, please be quiet when you're eating, you're giving me a headache." Fine, fine, you're one of the investors, whatever you say." Liao Xing went silent, still staring at Yi Fei Li, his eyes evaluating her from top to bottom. After a while, he couldn't help but ask, "Do man-killer fiends still need to eat?" Yi Fei Li didn't mind and answered, "Eating won't fill my hunger, only killing will, but I still have a sense of taste." He put down his utensils and wiped his mouth. "I eat these things because they're delicious, and I couldn't afford them before." "You're a good young man." Liao Xing's eyes rolled a bit, asking, "I like people like you, how about you come with me?" Yi Fei Li answered, "You're not qualified." "Bullshit, I'm the Federation's #1 scientist, how am I not qualified to be friends with you?" Yi Fei Li glanced at him, shaking his head with a look of disdain. At this point, the hollow brain in his chest pocket lit up as an electronic voice came. "Target spotted, 357 kilometers southeast, moving towards the capital." Hearing that, Yi Fei Li grabbed half a lobster from the table and left. A pair of fearsome bone spikes suddenly sprouted from his back. "What are you doing?" Liao Xing looked at the terrifying bone spikes and asked anxiously. "I'm going to fill my hunger." Saying so, Yi Fei Li walked to the window, turned into a red streak of light, and flew away. "Who is Yi Fei Li going to deal with?" Gu Qingshan asked. The man-killer fiend that's spreading the plague, impartial goddess answered. That's right, it's time to deal with it, otherwise more and more people will die, Gu Qingshan agreed. Sir, where are we going now? Impartial goddess suddenly asked. We're going to Jang Young Ho's place. I have something very important to ask you, please go ahead sir, impartial goddess replied. Gu Qingshan became nervous. This rain, is there anything wrong with it? The other side. Yi Fei Li flew high up in the sky, breaking through layers of dark clouds, and finally landed on a piece of barren land. A skeleton covered in minced meat, exuding a faint yellow mist, was staggering forward. When the skeleton saw him, it stopped. It said in a snake-like voice, I've already given you the city. Why are you still chasing me? What's the point of giving it to me after you've killed them all? Yi Fei Li said. The skeleton's voice became sharp. I've already taken a step back. What else do you want? I don't understand why you're chasing me. It continued, there are countless creatures in this world that can't be killed. You and I are of the same species with a very high evolutionary level. There's no need to kill each other. Same kind? Kill each other? Yi Fei Li tilted her head and tossed the lobster in her hand over. The skeleton subconsciously caught the lobster, glanced at it, and casually threw it on the ground. What do you mean by giving me such a useless dead thing? It cautiously asked. Yi Fei Li looked at the lobster on the ground and regretfully said, Such a delicacy, yet you're ignoring it. He raised his hand. Boundless blood-red light flickered in his palm like a flame. From the looks of it, we're not the same species. The fearsome bone spikes suddenly flapped. Yi Fei Li smirked and jumped forward. On the small-sized shuttle. Sir, what are you referring to? The effect on this planet, aside from the increase in rain, there's no other change, increase in rain. Gu Qingshan muttered. The war god Ui doesn't lie. If it says there's an intense change in spacetime, then there definitely is. What exactly is it? Rain. Gu Qingshan silently muttered. He suddenly said, Impartial goddess, let me see how many places are raining right now. Please wait a moment, it will take 7 seconds to connect to and retrieve all the weather satellites in the world, Impartial goddess replied. A screen opened. A world map appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. Places where it's raining are marked in red, he said. Instantly, the world map was covered in red. Aside from the oceans, many places on the map were marked in red. Only the places where people rarely go are still sunny. The faint red light illuminated Gu Qingshan's face, clearly showing off his nervousness. How could it be normal for all the places where people live to be raining? Seems like I'm not wrong. This rain is indeed the rain of the apocalypse. The best way to infiltrate this world is to use the weather to slowly infuse outside forces into it. Rain is a good choice, as it can permeate through everything, all the way to the depths of the earth. Gu Qingshan quickly said. Contact the weather and biochemistry departments, as well as the corresponding experts. Immediately analyze the rain. Yes, understood. The screen went dark, the world map disappeared. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then asked, Are there any changes in the world's temperature? Impartial goddess paused for a second, then answered, There are no obvious fluctuations. Gu Qingshan sighed in relief, then muttered, Although it's raining, it's not that. Keep an eye on the rain. Once the biochemistry analysis comes out, notify me. Understood, Impartial goddess answered. According to the records, while you were away, someone has requested to meet with you 5 times. Who? Sir President, when I wasn't here? Oh, now it's the 6th time. Seems like it's urgent. How far are we from each other? He's at an airbase in a city on our right, 173 kilometers away from you, sir. Tell him we're going to meet him now, Gu Qingshan said. Understood. Gu Qingshan has a good impression of the president. This president has always worked for the sake of the Federation, for the sake of the people, both in this life and the past. His actions have earned Gu Qingshan's respect. The small-sized shuttle drew an arc in the rain, heading towards another direction. The location of the meeting was an office. As Gu Qingshan went through many layers of checks and entered the office, a few aides were sitting on the sofa, discussing something in a low voice. The president was sitting behind a large mahogany desk, working. He was wearing a pair of reading glasses, his back was slightly hunched, both arms propped on the desk, reading a document line by line, occasionally making notes with his pen. Gu Qingshan noticed that there were a few age spots on the president's face. His back wasn't as straight as it used to be. "Sir President, I'm here," Gu Qingshan said. The president looked up, recognizing Gu Qingshan. "You're finally here," he smiled, stood up and put his glasses back on the desk. "Sir, it seems you're in a hurry to find me," Gu Qingshan said. "That's right, there's something that I've been thinking about. I still feel like I should listen to your opinion." The president shook her hand and said. "I'm flattered," Gu Qingshan smiled. The president told his aides, "You can leave first, I have something personal to discuss with him." The aides stood up, smiled at Gu Qingshan, and left. The door closed. The president visibly calmed down and turned around. "Coffee or tea?" he asked. "There's no need for you to do it yourself, it's fine, I've always wanted to have a meal with you, but I don't have the time. There's always time for a cup of tea." "Then tea it is, very well." The two of them sat down and took a sip of tea. "I know everything you've done," the president said. Gu Qingshan nodded. "I'm probably the only president in the entire history of the Federation to have his highest authority shared with someone else. I'm sorry, No, don't misunderstand, I'm not saying this isn't good," the president continued. "This way, I won't be that lonely." Chapter 236. Hope. Gu Qingshan was a bit doubtful. "That's right, that's how politics is, you can't do whatever you want just because you've become the president, there are too many gains and losses, so the people have to be put aside first, every party has to prioritize their own benefits, your political enemies will always oppose you regardless of whether they're right or wrong, so there's always a lot of restraints that you can't escape from. But what you've done has given me hope. You flatter me." After chatting for a bit, the president went straight to the point. "Actually, there's something that I want to ask your opinion on. Please go ahead. I want to open up the genetic modification serum's usage rights." Saying so, the president observed Gu Qingshan's expression. "Martial potential enhancement serum? I have to say, that's a very wise choice." Gu Qingshan nodded. "You really think so?" "Of course," Gu Qingshan answered. "Everyone should have a chance at genetic modification to increase their chances of becoming a professionist. With the martial potential enhancement serum, everyone can at least become a one-star martial artist. This way, when we face the man-eater fiends, our chances of survival will greatly increase." "That's a really good thing," the president continued. "But a lot of people, you know who I'm talking about, they're worried that genetic modification will cause social unrest, that it'll make laws useless." Gu Qingshan answered. "The Fuxi Empire has 3 times as many professionists as we do, yet the empire is still strong and prosperous without any unrest," he continued. "From the genetic modification serum itself, we have the martial potential enhancement serum, Fuxi has the elementalist awakening serum, and the Holy Empire has the God's Chosen Awakening Serum. In other words, even if all of our citizens are injected with the genetic modification serum, the individual strength of our citizens won't be at an advantage among the 3 countries. Then, why don't we do it?" he concluded. "You mean, you support me in doing this?" the president asked to confirm. "Of course I do. With how tense the situation is right now, this is a good thing for every citizen. But the 9 lords might not be too willing." "Ignore them," the president smiled happily. "There's going to be an international conference to discuss this matter. At that time, all the leaders of the various countries will be there." "Ah?" Gu Qingshan was a bit interested, asking, "The other countries also want to do this?" "That's right, I want you to tell me about it." "Me?" Gu Qingshan was taken aback. That's right, it's no longer a secret. The inventor of the Blazing Angel virus, the discoverer of the man-killer fiend virus. As a scientist, your name is now quite famous, you're quite influential on the international level, the president said. As a scientist, it's more useful for you to talk about the pros and cons than a bunch of politicians. Do you really think so? That's right, the Fuxi Empire's emperor is a practical person. No matter what others say, he'll always listen, the president said. If we have his support, this matter will be much easier. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then nodded. That's fine, impartial goddess will help me remember the time and place. Remind me when the time comes. Understood, sir, impartial goddess replied. The president stood up and extended his hand. Thank you very much for your help. Gu Qingshan also stood up and shook the president's hand. It's my honor. The president sent Gu Qingshan out of the door, and the two of them chatted as they walked until they reached the small shuttle. After they left, one of the president's aides came into the office. This is the president's most loyal follower, ever since before the election. He's always been by the president's side, taking care of various matters, earning him the title of President's Hand. Everyone trusts him. While staring at the door, he quickly took out a small glass bottle. The cork was roughly pulled open, the yellow liquid inside quickly melted into the president's cup of tea. Even after that, no one showed up. He breathed out in relief, fixed his collar, and went out with his hands in his pocket. An hour later, Gu Qingshan arrived at Zhang Yongho's place. This was a villa built on top of a mountain, a single door and courtyard, no other structures. The villa had all the necessary facilities, even a boxing ring. Zhang Yongho had already been notified by impartial goddess, waiting for him at the door. You're really something, leaving the man-killer fiend brothers to me while happily running away by yourself, Zhang Yongho complained. I'm sorry, I had something more important to do at the time. Gu Qingshan smiled. Did you two get along well? If you ask me, Yi Feili is quite nice. But what's up with that bro who came later? Zhang Yongho pointed behind him. Gu Qingshan walked past him and looked into the room. Only to see Liao Xing sitting on the sofa, holding a pipe in one hand and a bottle of beer in the other, his eyes glued to the projection screen on the wall. On the screen was a popular idol drama of the year. Ah, look at this chick, what a great body, I'll have to find a chance to warp her here, he muttered. Gu Qingshan patted Zhang Yongho's shoulder, saying, He's an old pervert, but he's a great researcher, you don't need to worry too much about him. All right, Zhang Yongho said. I helped you deal with the world's #1 man-killer fiend, you need to help me out as well, what is it? Gu Qingshan asked. I did something a few days ago, Zhang Yongho said. Speak. It's hard to say, Zhang Yongho suddenly became a bit shy. If you don't want to tell me, I'm leaving. Gu Qingshan walked towards the room. All right, I'll tell you, Zhang Yongho hurriedly pulled Gu Qingshan back and said. You know my God's chosen skill, Black Cat, I know it's very useful when it comes to finding things. Things haven't been going well lately, so my family's elders are worried about my personal life, urging me to find a partner, and then? I was bored, so I summoned Black Cat. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. You used Black Cat to find a partner? That's right, I was just bored and wanted to have some fun, but as soon as I said I was looking for a partner, Black Cat immediately ran out, so I had no choice but to follow it. If I didn't, it would get angry. So you followed Black Cat and found your dream lover? Gu Qingshan was even more surprised. Gu Qingshan organized her words a bit, then said, Listen, God's chosen skills are sometimes unreliable, you don't need to. Seeing the expression on Zhang Yongho's face, he slowly shut his mouth. Zhang Yongho was smiling, his eyes were misty, as if he was staring at a faraway place. I know her, but this is the first time I've seen her in person, he muttered in a low voice. Recalling the scene at the time, he cleared his throat. She's not really a dream lover, she's just fated to meet, fated to meet, then go chase her? What does this have to do with me? Gu Qingshan was a bit confused. The problem is, this is a bit hard, Zhang Young-ho sighed. With your Zhang family's power, there's nothing hard, Gu Qing-shan said. It's because the 9 lords don't really get along with her family's old man, and you have a good relationship with her old man, so I'm asking you to help. What do you want? Take me with you, get to know her old man a bit, change his impression of her first. Gu Qing-shan smiled. You're thinking quite deeply. Who is it? The president's daughter. So that's why. Gu Qing-shan thought for a bit, then said, That's perfect, I'll be attending an international conference soon, you can come with me, I'll introduce you to the president, alright? Zhang Young-ho was overjoyed, patting Gu Qing-shan's shoulder. You're a good brother. At this point, the door opened. The two of them turned to look, only to see Yi Fei Li retracting his bone-spiked wings, landing on the ground. There were open wounds all over his body, but they've obviously been treated, no more blood flowed out. Impartial goddess voice came from the holobrain. The plague man killer fiend has been killed by Yi Fei Li. Thank you. Gu Qing-shan smiled and said, It's nothing, killing it will help me evolve even faster, not to mention impartial goddess comprehensive medical care. Saying so, Yi Fei Li's eyes were full of surprise, staring at Gu Qing-shan. You've gotten stronger, he said. Chapter 237. Zhang Young-ho looked at the faint bloody glow around Yi Fei Li's body and cut in. Our new partner, after becoming stronger, you wouldn't have any new ideas, would you? Don't worry, I'm very satisfied with my current lifestyle. Noticing his gaze, Yi Fei Li retracted the bloody glow and entered the room. The three of them each found a sofa and sat down. Yi Fei Li is our partner, of course I'd welcome her. Zhang Young-ho pointed at Liao Xing, asking, But do I really need to take in such trash? Liao Xing stopped watching TV and glared at him. What do you mean? What trash, when this great one dominated the Federation? Please pay attention to the confidentiality agreement. Impartial goddess voice suddenly came. Fine, fine, damn those nanobombs, Liao Xing begrudgingly said. It's fine, he's Liao Xing, the inventor of warp technology, Gu Qing-shan introduced. Sir, impartial goddess spoke. It's fine, the two of them here don't have any intentions of leaking this information, Gu Qing-shan said. Yi Fei Li doesn't understand what this name means at all. Zhang Young-ho opened his eyes wide, staring at Liao Xing without saying anything. You're not dead. 30 years, that's impressive, he muttered. Liao Xing looked at Gu Qing-shan and asked, Brat, you brought me back, what do we do now? Wait a minute. Gu Qing-shan took out her holobrain. Impartial goddess voice came from the holobrain. Sir Gu Qing-shan, the rainwater analysis report is out, there are no issues. No issues? That shouldn't be, he thought in surprise. After the man-killer fiends appeared, every time the demons infiltrated this world, it was through the rain. The rain carried the power of another world, falling into this world, seeping into every inch of the earth, finally gathering at the deepest point of the earth. The world was silently being changed by the rain, only at a certain point would the rain stop. As soon as the rain stopped, changes would occur. There were all kinds of strange changes. It was to the extent that during the apocalypse, once people discovered that it was raining, they would immediately start a huge riot. Gu Qing-shan was deep in thought. Since there was no obvious problem with the rain, it was not one of those situations. Suddenly, impartial goddess spoke up. Your Excellency Gu Qing-shan, just a second ago, the rain all over the world stopped in such a short time? Gu Qing-shan was stunned for a moment before she understood. Oh no, this is the shortest rain in the 10 years of the apocalypse. It was that incomparably savage thing. Oh no, I can't stop it. Right at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Dear friends, the game of Eternal has officially begun. From the sound of it, this voice seemed to come from a stern old man. The strange thing was that the voice was neither loud nor soft, neither far nor near, as if it was ringing in everyone's heart. What is this? Liao Xing asked curiously. What the hell is this? It feels as though it is ringing directly in my heart. Jang Young-ho looked around nervously. Yi Fei squinted her eyes, seemingly trying to sense something, then spoke after a while. Directly affecting the heart, an extremely powerful ability. Gu Qing Shan sighed and sat down on the sofa dejectedly. This filthy thing, so it really was that thing, he struggled to silently say in his mind. Facing such an eerie situation, everyone was stunned. Before they could think about it, the voice came again. Humans of this world, I am your friend. The apocalypse has come. Calamities and calamities are endless. Your fate is like an ant in a flood, insignificant and out of your control. Do you wish to change your fate? Struggle in the midst of battle, advance in the midst of slaughter, only the strong can survive. Gu Qing Shan hit the table with all his might, causing it to collapse. Damn it, he roared in a low voice. This was an infamous game. During the apocalypse, because of this game, the entire human civilization lost 60% of its population. It had only used 10 days to make the entire human world go crazy and fall into its enemy's hand. What exactly is going on? Jang Young-ho asked with a serious expression. Gu Qing Shan looked at the three of them and spoke seriously. No matter what, you cannot choose. Yes, do you hear me? As soon as he said so, the voice came again. If you are a brave warrior, then challenge it. Once you succeed, you shall obtain great power, or even eternal life. The first game of eternal, now accepting applications. As soon as he said so, a large line of text appeared in front of the four of them. Do you wish to obtain eternal life, to become an undying existence? Yes/no. This line of text silently floated in the air, as if waiting, but also as an invitation. This scene appeared in every corner of the planet where there were humans. Gu Qing Shan sighed with a defeated expression. That's right, the only thing that can make humans crazily chase after everything else is eternal life. Gu Qing Shan suddenly raised his voice, shouting. Listen up, choose no, whoever chooses yes. Don't blame me for turning against you right away. The three of them looked at him, then at each other. Jang Young-ho and Yi Fei both chose no at the same time. Liao Xing looked at their choices, hesitated for a bit, then also chose no. What exactly is going on? Jang Young-ho finally asked. I don't feel too good, let's keep watching, Gu Qing Shan slowly said. Jang Young-ho nodded and didn't ask anything else. Premonition is a very hard thing to say. A normal person's premonition isn't much, but powerful professionists are often able to see through the cracks of fate, so as long as there's a premonition, it's usually pretty accurate. The old man's voice came again. The first batch of people who wish to become eternal has been chosen. A total of 17,961 people will be randomly selected from this world. After an intense battle, we shall choose the final winner. The winner shall obtain the right to eternal life. All spectators, close your eyes and you will be able to watch this survival challenge. And now, the exciting survival challenge shall begin. Everyone couldn't help but close their eyes. A scene silently appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was an ancient Colosseum. The Colosseum was originally silent, but suddenly, over 10,000 people appeared on the stone arena. They were all standing together, but they only took up 1/3 of the arena. Below the arena was a bottomless abyss. There was no one in the seats of the Colosseum. So it's real, what's going on? Did I really enter the survival challenge? I just randomly chose. Wow, that's really cool. Strange, I can't leave after coming in. Can I really obtain eternal life? I want to go back. That's scary. There's a ghost. Everyone was talking at once. A few of them were scared, but a lot of them were excited, feeling like this was a new experience. After all, the apocalypse is already here. The world is no longer the same as it was before. Every country's government is constantly giving warnings about where the sea beasts will land. The news often shows images of sea beasts that are dozens of stories tall. There are also man-eater fiends and man-killer fiends that openly appear in front of everyone, fighting against mechs and professionists. It's not like people can't accept something even stranger happening at a time like this. On the arena, there were police officers, doctors, hoodlums, housewives, students, professionists, a total of almost 18,000 people of all shapes and sizes. Everyone stood there, getting to know each other, exchanging their opinions, waiting for the next change. The old voice came again. The rules of the game: survive to the end, become the only king. As soon as this was said, quite a few people fell into thought. Even more people's expressions changed. What do you mean? Are you saying that only one person can survive? Someone shouted. The old voice didn't answer and continued. The duration of the game is 1 hour. I hope everyone has a good time. Now, the survival challenge begins. The old voice disappeared. Some of the smarter ones quickly left the crowd and ran away. Chapter 238. On the arena, the stone tiles that no one was standing on had all been flipped over, placing many items on the ground. Many weapons and armors. Daggers, swords, daggers, machetes, straight blades, spears, hammers, battle axes, iron rods, darts, helmets, armor, breastplates, arm guards, boots. These items were everywhere on the arena. Someone was the first to pick them up. Seeing that, others also followed suit. More and more people were picking up items. Some of them simply watched others pick up items and followed suit, while others were quickly looking for items that suited them. A professionist first took out a shield, then reached for a gleaming long blade. He was a saber user, and from his point of view, that long saber was a good weapon. But as soon as he reached his hand out, the blade was already in someone else's hand. The professionist looked back to see a pot-bellied old man. The professionist raised his leg, kicked the old man to the ground, and took away the blade. When he was about to leave, he suddenly remembered something. The one and only king, he muttered. He drew the blade and swung it with a cold gleam. The old man screamed in pain and died. This caused a chain reaction. Everyone stopped what they were doing and silently looked at him. Being stared at by so many people, the professionist nervously took a step back. The old voice suddenly spoke up, praising him. The first point of the entire competition goes to professionist Chen-Chi. Let us see what kind of reward he got. He got a reward just like that? Everyone froze and looked at the professionist called Chen-Chi. Chen-Chi stood still with a cold expression. From the looks of it, he was also a bit panicked. All of a sudden, a flame appeared on his blade. The flame lingered on the blade for a long time without dissipating. The old voice spoke. Congratulations! Because he was the first challenger to get a point, his weapon has been strengthened by the flame spirit. He is now in the lead. Chen-Chi swung his blade. The flames on the blade scattered everywhere. A middle-aged man who was standing too close to him was hit by the flames and screamed in pain. The middle-aged man rolled on the ground for a long time before the flames were completely extinguished. However, at this moment, he had already lost one of his arms and was half dead. He was lying on the ground, barely breathing. Ha ha, this saber is so powerful. Chen-Chi had a crazed look on his face. He strode over and slashed at the middle-aged man. Amidst the miserable howls, blood splattered everywhere. Second point. The old voice immediately sounded. Chen-Chi has obtained the second point. Let's see what reward he got this time. The shield that Chen-Chi had picked up earlier had a few sharp thorns emitting cold air protruding from it. This is too shocking, able to attack and defend, an unstoppable shield. The aged voice shouted in a mocking tone. Chen-Chi exclaimed in excitement. He suddenly raised his shield and slammed it into a person beside him. The man was impaled on the spikes of the shield. He spat out blood and soon lost all signs of life. The old voice sounded impatiently. Chen-Chi, a true warrior. He's getting closer and closer to the throne in this game. Everyone, guess what equipment he got this time? But at this point, no one could calmly watch anymore. In this match, only one person will survive. And Chen-Chi was becoming more and more powerful. Sporadic screams and screams could be heard from all over the arena. Quite a few professionists were slaughtering their way through, as if someone was whipping them from behind. A young girl was crying, "Don't kill me, I don't want to die, I thought this was only a game." Sha! A flash of fire. Her body was cut in half by a single slash and fell dead on the ground. Chen Qi gripped the flaming longsword, stepped over her body, and pounced on the next panicked middle-aged man. The screams and screams were getting louder and louder. The entire arena was littered with corpses, blood flowing like a river. Damn it! Zhang Yongho opened his eyes. What the hell is this thing? Even the art of killing has been turned into a slaughter. He cursed. Seems like it suits me. Yi Fei muttered. This thing, if its final reward really is eternal life, then it'll definitely drive people crazy, Liao Xing said with a rare serious tone. That's right, there'll always be people who want to take risks, people who think they're more special than others, so they want to use this shortcut to make themselves immortal, Gu Qingshan replied. Strong people will always want to become even stronger, not to mention the ultimate temptation of eternal life, he sighed, dejectedly shaking his head. This is irresistible, you can't stop people's desire for eternal life. This arena is also an untraceable existence, unless you sign up for the game, you won't even be able to see it, or there's no way to deal with it. Gu Qingshan was feeling even more dejected. The game of Eternal specializes in eating people's souls to make itself stronger. Normally speaking, when it comes from another world, it can't interfere with the laws of this world so quickly, nor can it obtain power from the souls of this world. However, this game arena used an invitation method. This invitation was equivalent to a contract. Actively joining the competition is the same as signing a soul contract. If you win, you'll get the reward and leave. If you lose, you'll have to pay with your soul. In the arena, the soul of every person who dies will be eaten by the game. And as the game gets stronger, it'll slowly change the rules, increasing the maximum number of people who can participate in the arena, making the killing in the arena even more bloody, until finally, it'll turn the entire planet into an arena. Killing will be everywhere. As for eternal life, that's only a play on words. Slowly turning humans into some kind of demon, they'll naturally be able to live for a very long time, perhaps even close to eternal life. But demons are a race that won't stop killing for even a single second. This is a trait carved into their souls. What kind of demon can live forever in the midst of killing? In the past life, countless humans went crazy for the so-called eternal life. Because those who receive the eternal life reward will actually stop aging, in fact, they'll slowly become younger. Within 3 years, the demonic nature will silently change inside their bodies without anyone noticing. Within 3 years, no one who received the eternal life reward showed any abnormalities. Every country and organization tried everything they could to check, even using the Holy Church's God's chosen skill, but found no abnormalities. In the end, everyone confirmed that this was true eternal life. In the 3 years of madness, countless people threw themselves into the game of eternal, only to have their lives harvested and their souls eaten by the game. Not to mention professionists, even ordinary people and the politicians of various countries are all thinking of ways to get their hands on an eternal pill. In front of eternal life, nothing else matters, even countries have to stand aside. After 3 years, when the game of eternal began to demonize and the truth was revealed to the world, only 30% of the world's population remained. And this was only because World's Apocalypse Online appeared in the past 3 years, allowing people to travel through the cultivation world and steadily increase their strength. It was only then that humanity regained their calmness and reduced the number of times they participated in the game of eternal. But in this life, World's Apocalypse Online still hasn't appeared, only the game of eternal has. Do we really have to wait for half a year for World's Apocalypse Online to appear? That's already too late. Once the game of eternal eats enough souls, it'll continue to evolve and change. At that time, It'll do everything in its power to arouse the deepest desires of humanity, causing more and more people to die in the arena. Humanity's civilization will collapse under the temptation of eternal life. Is this the end of the world? Gu Qingshan silently thought. Hey, what are you thinking? Look at yourself. Liao Xing looked at him and shrugged. What is it? Gu Qingshan didn't even look up and answered in a low voice. Look at yourself, you don't look human at all, Liao Xing said. You piece of shit, what are you talking about? Zhang Young-ho couldn't help but want to stop him. Let him speak. Gu Qingshan looked up at Liao Xing. Liao Xing stood up, walked in front of Gu Qingshan and looked down at him. He said I'm a piece of shit, Liao Xing glared, but I think you're more like shit. Yi Fei scowled and stood up. Do you want to die? No, let him speak. I want to hear what he's trying to say. Gu Qingshan stopped Yi Fei from raising his hand. You piece of shit, I don't know what you're trying to do, but as soon as something happens, you're always so dejected. Do you even look like a man? Liao Xing said. He grabbed Gu Qingshan by the collar and lifted him up. I escaped from the cold outer space, wanting to find a long-term meal ticket, but all you show me is a crying face? Look at you. People who don't know would think you've been through the apocalypse countless times. Ridiculous. But so what if it's the apocalypse? We're both men, the worst that comes to worst is death. What's the point of showing your weakness? Me. Liao Xing patted his chest. A single person against an entire country, living in the cold outer space for 30 years. I'm still alive and kicking, what about you? Gu Qingshan pried his hand away and smiled bitterly. Mr. Liao, we're not the same. How are we not the same? You've been hiding for 30 years. I haven't even been able to hide for a single day. Gu Qingshan continued to smile, seemingly regaining his spirit. He put his hand on her shoulder and said, No matter what, thank you, Pa. Liao Xing scoffed. If it weren't for the fact that my women and children all need to rely on your merit to survive, I wouldn't care at all. He angrily walked back and laid down on the sofa. Gu Qingshan then said, Mr. Liao, thank you very much. Liao Xing impatiently waved his hand and said, If you're in trouble, think of a solution yourself. If you need me to do anything, just tell me. Don't show me a crying face. If you can't, it's only death. What's there to be afraid of? You're right, Gu Qingshan replied and quickly left the room. Zhang Young-ho and Yi Fei exchanged glances and quickly followed. Gu Qingshan didn't stop and continued walking until he reached the top of the mountain outside the mansion. The rain had already stopped for a while. The sky was filled with stars in the night sky, like an endless river of fate in the middle of the darkness. As far as the eye could see, the lights of the capital were still dim. The entire city gave off a warm yellow hue in the night. In the silent night, the wind blew through the leaves of the trees, creating the sound of crashing waves. Other than that, the occasional sound of an aircraft could be heard. Gu Qingshan silently stood at the top of the mountain. Zhang Young-ho followed her and tossed her a bottle of liquor. 30-years-old liquor, I think you'll need it at a time like this, Zhang Young-ho said. Thanks. Gu Qingshan opened the bottle and took a big gulp. He gave it to Yi Fei. Yi Fei took a sip and scowled. I still prefer fruit juice. If you don't want it, then don't bother. Zhang Young-ho took the bottle back, took a sip and opened his eyes wide. This is good stuff. This bottle of mine is worth 100,000 Federation credits. Ah? That expensive? Yi Fei raised her eyebrows in surprise. Here, let me have another sip, Zhang Young-ho grumbled as he handed her the bottle, then turned to Gu Qingshan. Now that I think about it, this damned unknown thing has successfully stirred the desires of humanity. These tens of thousands of people are going to die for sure, but I don't believe in such a thing, because sacrificing someone else's life to gain eternal life doesn't sound reliable at all, Zhang Young-ho commented. This is eternal life we're talking about. How can you still be so calm? Yi Fei was surprised. When faced with life, a hitman has to remain calm, not to mention a hitman's boss. Zhang Young-ho puffed out his chest and replied. Yi Fei thought for a bit, then said, If that's the case, we just need to ignore it and watch from the sidelines. That won't do, Gu Qingshan smiled bitterly. Once the world's civilization starts to collapse, the entire world will show more flaws. From then on it won't be able to climb back up again, only heading towards the abyss. But such a strange thing, we can't touch it, we can't hit it, who can deal with it? Zhang Young-ho asked. Furthermore, eternal life is the ultimate desire of every person. You can stop one person, but how can you stop everyone? That's exactly what I feel helpless about. Gu Qingshan felt a headache coming, received the bottle and took another sip. Yi Feili still couldn't get used to it, so she smacked her lips and said, "Don't be discouraged, I can see that you're dealing with the man-killer fiend quite well." How did I deal with the man-killer fiend? Gu Qingshan casually asked. Using the man-killer fiend to deal with the man-killer fiend, of course. Yi Feili pointed at herself and joked. Gu Qingshan was stunned. What did you just say? Can you say it again? He slowly turned around and looked at Yi Feili. His gaze was like he was looking at a rare treasure, but also like he was looking at a merciful god. Yi Feili was a bit scared by his gaze, silently took a step back and said, I said that you're dealing with the man-killer fiend quite well. It's not this sentence. I said that you're using the man-killer fiend to deal with the man-killer fiend. Gu Qingshan silently nodded. He nodded again and again, his eyes slowly glowing. He pursed his lips, as if he was thinking about something very important in his life. Yi Feili and Zhang Young-ho exchanged glances, a bit confused. They heard Gu Qingshan muttering to himself. That's right, we can do that. Since the game didn't appear, I'll deal with it myself. He raised the bottle, tilted his head back and drank the entire bottle in one gulp. Seeing him like that, Yi Feili and Zhang Young-ho couldn't help but exchange glances, feeling a bit relieved. When Gu Qingshan put the bottle down, the two of them heard him muttering. That's right, we can't let it grow stronger, we need to stop it from growing. I have to do this, otherwise humanity will be extinct. After saying that, Gu Qingshan's entire person seemed to have changed. He now had an indescribable presence. It was like he was in the cultivation world, wielding his sword, ready to fight to the death against some unknown entity. Impartial goddess, where is the S.W. Divine Temple? He asked. Above the capital. The hollow brain lit up as Impartial Goddess answered. Very well, send me up, sir. Do you need something? No, it's you who has something to do. What do you need, sir? Chapter 239. Gu Qingshan, Zhang Young-ho, Yi Feili and Liao Xing were taken to the S.W. Divine Temple Interstellar Fortress by a medium-sized interstellar ship. As soon as Gu Qingshan arrived, she started to work non-stop, apparently making something. So this is what this place is like, Liao Xing commented. Standing on the S.W. Divine Temple's information processing square, he excitedly looked around. Impartial Goddess spoke. Mr. Liao, please do not leave the 10-square-meter radius around you, otherwise I will detonate the nanobomb on your body. Why are you always picking on me? Liao Xing loudly protested. Because you've read a total of 297 academic books after you came back, all of them were about the latest firewall cracking research. Impartial Goddess answered. What the hell, are the machines these days already so AI? Liao Xing dejectedly sighed. Alright, Gu Qingshan seems to have finished something, clapping her hands. I have something I want to tell everyone. The three of them looked at him, only to see his expression was serious. The reason we're gathered here today is to do something, Gu Qingshan very seriously said. What is it? To make a game. Pfft, ahahaha, Zhang Young-ho couldn't help but laugh. A game, a brainwave game, he laughed. Ever since I fell in love with assassination when I was 17, I've never played a game again. Yi Feili was a bit interested. What kind of game are you talking about? I used to be quite good at competitive games, ranked 7th in the world. It's not the same, Gu Qingshan waved her hand dismissively. What I want to make is a game that all of humanity can participate in. That kind of content seems to be very hard to make. Liao Xing retracted his casual expression and said, I'll give you a simple example. Gu Qingshan gestured. It's been prepared according to your request, impartial goddess answered. A mechanical arm appeared in front of them. Since this is only a preliminary idea, I'll only be demonstrating the most basic content. Saying so, Gu Qingshan stepped forward and took the mechanical arm in his hand. He pressed a button on the mechanical arm, and the mechanical arm immediately followed his arm and fitted perfectly on his left arm. This is a little bulky. I'll consider making it into a bracelet in the future, he said as he began his demonstration. A long sword appeared in his hand. Impartial goddess, according to the sword style I just recorded, begin to record my movements and create a model. Ready, please demonstrate, sir. Impartial goddess voice came from the mechanical arm. Gu Qingshan wielded the earth sword and performed a set of basic swordsmanship. The three of them watched intently. After demonstrating, Gu Qingshan asked, Impartial goddess, how was my swordsmanship? According to the records of this sword technique in the database, there is a deviation in one of your movements. 2 of your body postures can be improved. As the mechanical arm spoke, it projected a screen of light. On the screen, Gu Qingshan's mistakes were shown, marked next to the mistakes, then used a small person made of light to demonstrate the correct movements. After watching the entire demonstration, Gu Qingshan said, Please use my personal situation to estimate how many more times I need to practice before I can fully grasp this swordsmanship. Calculating. Based on the deviation in your movements, you'll need to practice the standard movements 300 more times. Your body will remember the correct movements. Very well, after I've completed this set of movements, will I get a reward? If you can fully grasp this set of swordsmanship, your personal strength will reach the standard of a 3-star martial artist. According to the Federation's martial artist personal allowance, you will receive a standard Federation military sword. I will now demonstrate the correct postures. Gu Qingshan performed the entire set of swordsmanship again. This time, there were no mistakes at all. Ting! A chime was heard from the mechanical arm. As you've perfectly grasped this set of swordsmanship, your personal strength has reached the standard of a 3-star martial artist. You will be rewarded with a standard Federation military sword. Would you like to receive your reward now? Yes, reward will be released. They waited for a bit, but nothing happened. Is it fake? Zhang Yongho asked. Of course not. Gu Qingshan looked at Liao Xing and smiled. Liao Xing immediately understood, his face full of surprise. He muttered, So you want me to put the portable miniature warp system on the mechanical arm, that way Impartial Goddess can warp the reward to the player at any time. That's right, Gu Qingshan said. That way, the reward will be sent in real time, greatly improving the player's experience and sense of achievement. Hearing that, the three of them were stunned. Miniaturization of warp. That's very hard. I'll need a bit more time, Liao Xing scowled. Gu Qingshan explained. This is only the most basic function. When your miniaturization of warp technology is complete, I'll add in the truly powerful content. What is it? Zhang Yongho asked. Knowledge, skills, even weapons and equipment. All of them are good stuff, enough to make people go crazy over them. What are they specifically used for? Yi Feili asked further. You can imagine it, a person who has a body full of power but never knows how to use it, receiving a fighting skill manual for the first time. Of course, there are also other content that we can slowly incorporate into it. I can't make people immortal, but I can show humanity the true path to immortality. Gu Qingshan silently said in her mind. Hearing that, Zhang Yongho fell into thought for a bit. If there's such a reward, damn it. Liao Xing suddenly shouted. Zhang Yongho scowled. What are you doing? You're being too rash. You don't understand what this means. Liao Xing's expression became fanatical. If this game succeeds, humanity's civilization will change its direction, and we will become the new kings of the world. He quickly said. If that's the case, I'm going to redesign the entire warp device. Just wait and see, Gu Qingshan replied. That's fine, we'll do it slowly, one step at a time. We'll try to make this game the strongest system in the world. Zhang Yongho also realized and asked, You want to use this method to steal people from the game of Eternal? Interesting, I think it's very interesting. Yi Feili was a bit excited. But the biggest problem is, for humanity, eternal life is the game's most attractive reward, Zhang Yongho said. Eternal life, huh? Gu Qingshan closed her eyes and looked at the arena. This place was a hellish battlefield. The entire arena was soaked in human blood, white and red organs and severed limbs were everywhere. Tens of thousands of people were lying on the ground with their eyes wide open, their faces filled with fear and despair. The old voice didn't seem to notice this at all, instead shouting with a passionate tone. Everyone look, the top 4 have been decided. The king of the entire competition will be born from among them. Who will be granted eternal life? Let us all wait and see. The 4 professionals stood in 4 directions of the arena, restraining each other and staring at each other. Because they've killed so many people, they've all obtained unprecedentedly powerful equipment. The first professionist to kill was Chun-Chi, wearing a full set of black skeleton armor, wielding a flaming white bone blade in both hands. This set of skeleton armor was sturdy, light, and didn't hinder the wearer's movement at all. It was the highest reward Chun-Chi received after killing 2,000 people. Chun-Chi cautiously stared at the other 3. On Chun-Chi's left was a short martial artist. This martial artist, because he was hesitant in his actions and wasn't decisive enough in killing people, he only had a breastplate on, the rest of his body was exposed. Chun-Chi only glanced at him once before ignoring him. I'm wearing a full set of armor. As long as this short martial artist dares to come up, I won't even need to defend, I can kill him with a single slash. Chun-Chi looked at the other side of the arena. The one that truly made him feel threatened was a white-haired old man. Clusters of flames appeared out of thin air, circling around the old man's body, tightly protecting him. A strange bird with only black bones left was carrying the old man, silently hovering in the air. According to the old voice's explanation, this strange bird is called Hell's Traveler. Similar to the old man, it's able to awaken fire elemental, a powerful aid in battle. The old man killed 5,000 people, so his reward was Hell's Traveler. Damn it! Chun-Chi spat on the ground, feeling indignant. The old man is a fire professionist. In such an open space, he can kill a large number of people with a single strike. The old man's killing speed is too fast, so fast that even I can't compare. How do I get rid of him? Chun-Chi quickly thought. All of a sudden, a painful cough could be heard from the right side of the arena. Chun-Chi quickly turned to look. Among the 4 of them, the last remaining burly man was kneeling on the ground, vomiting mouthfuls of blood. In the intense battle before, the man was heavily wounded by another professionist's dying counterattack. Having been holding on until now, he couldn't hold on anymore. A good chance. Chun-Chi's eyes lit up. By killing such a powerful professionist, I'll be able to obtain even more powerful equipment. That way, I'll have the resources to fight against the old man. Chun-Chi dragged the bone blade, smirking as he charged at the man. The other 2 weren't to be outdone, they also sped up and flew towards the man. Seeing that, the man appeared desperate and shouted, If anyone dares to come, I'll drag them down with me even if I die. Seeing this, Gu Qingshan opened his eyes. He spoke in a low voice. This kind of eternal life isn't worth pursuing, we can't let people participate in this game anymore, what do you want to do? In front of eternal life, people won't listen to you so easily, Zhang Yongho said. Gu Qingshan waved his hand dismissively. We'll talk about that later, let's talk about our game first. If you have anything to say, you can tell me, Liao Xing. On your game system, make sure to leave a place for me to install the miniature warp device, and make it so that it can't be disassembled. Understood, please record it down. Impartial Goddess Gu Qingshan nodded. Chapter 240. Liao Xing spoke very seriously. I have to tell you, the miniaturization of the warp device is a very complicated process, and if you want to put it on your bracelet, it'll take a lot of time. Just do your best. Gu Qingshan spoke very seriously. The warp device is the most important thing, all the rewards will need to be sent through it, so you have to do your best. Leave it to me, it's just my old job, but you'll have to save the position of the first tester for me. Liao Xing's face was full of eagerness. No problem, Gu Qingshan answered. He then looked at Yi Feili. Yi Feili went silent for a bit, then said, if this is a game with a system, then there's a very important point that I think you might have overlooked. Gu Qingshan and Liao Xing both looked at him. Yi Feili felt a bit embarrassed being stared at, so he cleared his throat and said, before the apocalypse, I was a semi-professional brainwave gamer. Very well, then your opinion is very valuable, Gu Qingshan said. I think the most important thing about a system, or a game, is the name, Yi Feili said. Name. Gu Qingshan and Liao Xing both froze. That's right, Yi Feili spoke very seriously. If a game's name doesn't sound good, then the first impression will be lost and no one will be interested. For example, before the apocalypse, there was a game called Nouveau Riche Life Online, and its competitor was called Life Management Online. When Nouveau Riche Life Online launched, there were 5 times more players than the latter. Hearing his explanation, the other 3 couldn't help but nod. That's true, Zhang Young-ho also said. That damned thing is called the Game of Eternal. If we want to be its opponent, at least from the start, the name has to sound more imposing than it. Then, let's think about it together, Gu Qingshan decided. The 4 of them went silent. Doomsday Chick Protection Competition? Liao Xing asked. What a sh*tty name. Yi Feili curled her lips in disdain. Female players will never like this name. I think we can call it the Cold Blood Hunter System, Zhang Young-ho suggested. It's also dog**t. Your name will scare away a lot of players, Yi Feili said, shaking her head. Then tell me one, Zhang Young-ho said stubbornly. A killing game to become a god. Yi Feili clenched her fist and said excitedly. Bullsh**t name. Zhang Young-ho and Liao Xing said in unison. Gu Qingshan's head hurt. She thought about it and decided, let's call it Planet Guardian. Isn't this too plain? Zhang Young-ho complained. Plain means it's real, it means everyone can continue to advance and become the Planet Guardian, fighting against the apocalypse, Gu Qingshan said. Then there's only one problem left, Zhang Young-ho said. What is it? Aren't we a bit late? Zhang Young-ho said, look, the first round of the Game of Eternal is about to end. Right at this moment, the old voice resounded in everyone's mind. Spectators, the first round of the Game of Eternal has ended. Everyone closed their eyes and watched the Game of Eternal. On the arena filled with corpses, there was only one person barely standing. It was the white-haired old man. He had 1 broken arm, 1 blind eye, and there was even a dagger in his back. Blood was pouring out from his back, covering half of his body and dripping to the ground. In just a few moments, he would have died from blood loss as well. But right now, he was the only one still alive on the arena. The old voice praised. Our champion has been born. For the sake of our champion's dignity, let us heal all of his wounds. A black coffin rose up from the ground of the arena. Please enter the coffin, your wounds will quickly heal, the old voice said. The professionist hesitated a bit, then staggered into the coffin. He had no other choice. The coffin closed and slowly turned. Between life and death, only the strong can obtain the glory of life, the old voice sang. The coffin turned a bit, then opened again. The professionist leapt out. He was surprised to see that there wasn't a single wound on his fingers, his arms. The wound on his back had also disappeared, even his clothes had been restored. He stood there, full of life, looking like he was in perfect condition. King, Ouyang Feiyu, you've killed 6,738 competitors. You shall receive the Game of Eternal's reward. A treasure chest descended from the sky. Yi Fei closed her eyes, then suddenly said, "Look, this reward's entrance is much more extravagant than warp. It's only giving out a reward for a single person, while we're giving out a reward for the entire human race. Not to mention, it's easy to make it extravagant, it's just some light," Liao Xing refuted. "But it's too extravagant, everyone in the world can see it with their eyes closed," Zhang Yongho said. "I'll make sure that everyone with their eyes open can watch our game," Gu Qingshan muttered. In the arena, the old voice spoke. "Please click on the treasure chest to receive your reward." Yang Feiyu the professionist reached his hand out and carefully touched the treasure chest. The treasure chest let out a blinding light. As the light faded, a crimson-red scepter about half the height of a person silently floated in the air. This scepter had an inexplicable sense of attraction, making it so that people couldn't help but stare at it. The top of the scepter was carved with a monster's head with its mouth wide open. Next to the scepter, there was a jet-black pill quietly lying on the ground. The old voice spoke. "Congratulations, O Yang Feiyu, you've obtained the Eternal Pill and the Dark Flame Devil King Scepter. The Eternal Pill, after eating it, you'll become an eternal, noble life form. As for the scepter," the old voice continued, "this is the personal scepter of the Dark Flame Devil King. It represents supreme authority in the Dark Flame world for a professionist who's awakened by fire element. Carrying the Dark Flame Devil King scepter will grant them the Devil King's power. Boost, fire-type attacks will increase by 200%. Yang Feiyu appeared shocked. He was an elemental professionist who'd awakened fire element. But he didn't even look at the scepter, instead picking up the jet-black Eternal Pill. "Can I really live forever?" he hesitantly asked. "Indeed, after eating it, you'll obtain eternal life." The old voice became solemn. Yang Feiyu gritted his teeth and swallowed the Eternal Pill. At this point, everyone on the planet stopped what they were doing, held their breaths, and stared at him without blinking. "I feel," he muttered. But without needing to say anything, in front of everyone's eyes, his white hair quickly turned black. The wrinkles on his face were visibly disappearing. His body stretched a little. Such a slight stretch couldn't be noticed by normal people, but all the professionists opened their eyes wide. This was because the length and strength of his bones had returned to their prime. In just a few breaths' worth of time, Yang Feiyu had turned from an old man to a young man at the prime of his life. A mirror appeared in front of him. Yang Feiyu looked at himself in the mirror, touched his face with his hand, then suddenly laughed out loud. "Ahahaha, so it's true, I finally have eternal life." While speaking incoherently, he suddenly jumped up, flipped his body in the air, then started dancing, singing and dancing. But no one laughed at him. No matter who it was, they could all feel the joy he was feeling. In front of eternal life, no matter how crazy he was, no matter how strange this game was, no matter how much killing and carnage it was, at this moment, no one dared to question Yang Feiyu's change. The world was already heading towards its end. Humanity was facing the rampaging sea monsters, as well as the mutated man-eater fiends and man-killer fiends, falling into unprecedented despair. But right at this moment there was a chance for eternal life. At this moment, the flames of desire in everyone's hearts were ignited. Eternal life. It really is eternal life. Countless powerful professionists were regretting their decision. Damn it, why didn't I choose yes? If I was here, with my strength, I would definitely be able to defeat this Yang Feiyu. The right to eternal life should be mine. At this moment, countless people on the entire planet felt that way. After cheering for a long time, Yang Feiyu finally remembered that he still had a reward. He quickly stepped forward, holding the crimson scepter in his hand. After a bit of hesitation, Yang Feiyu unleashed a fire-type spell. This was the simplest fireball spell, capable of unleashing a fireball about the size of a bowl to attack an enemy. Any professions who awakened to fire elemental energy would know how to cast this simple spell. In front of Ouyang Feiyu, a giant fireball as tall as himself appeared, howling as it flew forward. All the corpses on its way were charred black as the fireball passed by. As the giant fireball flew forward, it struck the audience area, turning it into a bottomless crater. Across the entire world, countless professionists who were watching this were all speechless. Ahahaha, good stuff, seeing this power, Ouyang Feiyu happily shouted. The old voice spoke. The reward has been given, Ouyang Feiyu will soon return to reality, everyone please cheer for such a great hero. Following its words, Ouyang Feiyu disappeared from the arena. Only a few thousand corpses were left in the arena, silently lying on the ground. The next game of Eternal will begin at the same time tomorrow. Do you want to obtain eternal life? Come and join the competition. We are looking forward to more participants. See you tomorrow. As the old voice finished speaking, the entire arena became dark. The image of the arena disappeared from everyone's sight. After everyone had finished watching, in the silent arena, a series of bone-chilling chewing noises, countless cries, screams, and curses could be heard. These noises were so noisy that it felt like they were in a busy market. Chapter 241. Space. On the S.W. Divine Temple, the four people opened their eyes at the same time. Just look, Liao Xing said. The reward is eternal life. Who wouldn't be tempted by such a reward? Yi Feili said. And a powerful professionist weapon. Not even the Fuxi Empire can forge such a powerful weapon. Do you believe in it? Do you believe in eternal life? Gu Qingshan looked at them. Zhang Yongho scoffed. I only saw about 10,000 people die. Yi Feili thought for a bit, then muttered. My lifespan seems to have evolved to a certain point where I won't need such a thing anymore. I really want to try what eternal life feels like, but I'm not a professionist. Going up there would only mean death, Liao Xing said unwillingly. Very well, seems like we can continue, Gu Qingshan said. But that weapon is really cool, Yi Feili regretfully said. If it's a weapon, we can also do that in the near future. As Gu Qingshan said so, she suddenly remembered a certain person. Fuxi Empire's Grandmaster Weaponsmith, Du Guangqiong. There are some things that should be done by the people of this world themselves. Teaching a man to fish is better than teaching him to fish. Impartial goddess, Gu Qingshan regained her senses and shook her head. It's still early, the system is still in its infancy, there's still a lot to do, it's not that far yet. I'm here, please give me your orders, sir, Impartial Goddess answered. Check where a person called Ouyang Feiyu is at, from his surname. He's from the Fuxi Empire, searching for him, use 2 seconds, found 5 people with the same name. Liao Xing suddenly raised the piece of paper in his hand, saying, Impartial Goddess, take a look at his face. On the piece of paper, Ouyang Feiyu's face was drawn. Your drawing skills are quite good, Zhang Yongho praised. Nonsense, my own face. Liao Xing stopped midway and closed his mouth. Impartial Goddess answered. Based on their portraits and sketches, 4 candidates have been eliminated and the correct target has been found. Ouyang Feiyu, 69 years old, Fuxi Empire's most wanted criminal, a 5-elemental professionist. 20 years ago, he killed a few dozen professionists, evaded the Fuxi Empire's pursuit several times, and has been on the run ever since, using 31 satellites to search the area. Found this person is currently within the Fuxi Empire's borders, Mingyang City of the Southeast Province. Gu Qingshan was silent for a moment. The 3 of them couldn't tell what he was thinking, so they stared at him. Zhang Yongho couldn't help but ask, What are you thinking about? This game has already taken the lead, and even set an example of immortality. Gu Qingshan muttered to herself. He paced back and forth for a few steps and suddenly said, We must win this round. How? Zhang Yongho asked. Our target is this guy who obtained eternal life, Gu Qingshan said. Liao Xing's mind moved the fastest, asking, You want to kill him? That's right, Gu Shan answered. If he really becomes a hero, more and more people will want to join the game of Eternal. He squinted his eyes and spoke seriously. Thousands of people died just like that, but he gained eternal life through killing, becoming the focus of everyone's attention. We can't let this continue. Humanity has already gone mad. If a second person like him appears, humanity will lose all rationality, Yi Fei Li casually said. If it's killing, I'll be fine. That's what we need. You're currently our strongest fighting force, Gu Shan said. How do I get there? Yi Fei Li looked at the dark space outside and asked. I'll find the warp center for you in Fuxi Empire's Mingyang City, Liao Xing answered. Everyone looked at him. Warp devices are usually installed on interstellar warships, Zhang Yongho said. I've never heard of Fuxi Empire installing such things in their cities? Liao Xing scoffed, then turned to Gu Shan. Do I count as your partner? Gu Shan patted his shoulder and said, You do, you're the main force. Liao Xing then looked up and boasted. Brat, let me tell you, the Holy Empire, Fuxi, and the Federation, I've installed small-scale warp devices in every city in every country. When did that happen? Zhang Yongho asked. 30 years ago, Liao Xing answered. Then it's already broken, Zhang Yongho said. For the past 30 years, I've been relying on maintaining my gadgets to kill time, Liao Xing answered. My gadgets are all maintained by automated robots. All bills are kept in the country's secret service. It's an independent project. Non-related personnel are not allowed to interfere. The system automatically allocates maintenance procedures. The government signs the bill, and the taxpayer pays the bill, Liao Xing explained. Technology really is a scary thing, Zhang Yongho muttered. In other words, I can go anywhere I want? Yi Fei Li was intrigued. No wonder they had such a hard time catching you. Gu Shan also praised him. If that's the case, Zhang Yongho said, then there's no need for Yi Fei Li to do it herself. Any one of my hitmen will be able to take care of that guy. No, Gu Shan said. Yi Fei Li has to go. Why? Gu Shan answered. The game of Eternal has set an example of eternal life for all of humanity, so we need to set up a death god. He waved his hand. A 5-meter-tall metal mech jumped up from the ground. The blazing angel prototype. The finished product was given to Su Sher. But this original version of the mech was sealed here by Gu Shan because of how powerful its weapon system was. Gu Shan stroked the cold metal exterior of the mech, saying, If eternal life can make people crazy, then the fear of death will make them calm again. His figure was hidden in the shadow of the giant mech, his voice low and calm. You mean, Liao Xing looked at him, showing a look of true appreciation for the first time. That's right, I want the entire world to see that an Eternal who participated in the game of Eternal and slaughtered their own kind will never be able to live on, Gu Shan said. Impartial Goddess, you'll be responsible for connecting to the warp network provided by Mr. Liao. Got it. Also, come with me to make something, sir. What do you want to do? Dismantle the prototype's weapon system. We'll need to reconfigure it. Why do you need to reconfigure it? I want to make a mobile mech specifically for Yi Fei Li, one that also has a certain amount of defensive ability, Gu Shan said. He gestured for Yi Fei Li to come forward. Make a mobile mech for me? Did I hear that right? Yi Fei Li was a bit hesitant, showing a rare expression of nervousness. A light appeared out of nowhere, scanning him from head to toe. Personal model has been established, Impartial Goddess answered. Please consider the wings of bone spikes on his back, Gu Shan reminded her. My apologies, let's try again, Mr. Yi Fei Li, please open your wings of bone spikes. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.